Chapter 35:07. Duan Qingyao attacked. The white-haired old man screamed miserably. His face directly shattered, and his head exploded, turning into a bloody mist. He became a headless corpse. However, the old man was a third blight cultivator. Although he was only at the early stage, his source energy was extremely strong, and he wouldn't die so easily. The headless corpse of the white-haired old man floated into the air, and a new head began to grow in the headless place. The white-haired old man's recovered head had an expression of extreme pain. He quickly retreated and looked at Zhuo, one with a terrified gaze. He felt that this was unbelievable. He was an early-stage third blight cultivator, but he was heavily injured by this person in one move. Just how terrifying was this person? Furthermore, the white-haired old man was also puzzled by the fact that when he had exchanged a punch with Zhuo, when earlier he had still been fiercely suppressing his opponent. But now it was like Zhuo had taken an aphrodisiac. His strength suddenly erupted, and he was heavily injured. He really couldn't understand. "Old man, you barked so happily just now. Now call me again." Before the gray-haired old man could react, Zhuo flashed before the gray-haired old man like a bolt of lightning, and a punch blasted out. It gave rise to countless terrifying gales that were like countless blades, and it was extremely terrifying. The old man screamed in horror and quickly retreated, but unfortunately, how could his speed compare to Zhuo's? Zhuo, when caught up with the white-haired old man in an instant and unceremoniously punched him in the face, shattering his skull once again. After that, Zhuo, when struck out a few times successively, and he directly blasted the old man apart and obliterated him into nothingness. This continued until the old man's soul and body were completely obliterated to the point of being unable to recover. Zhuo, this old man won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Before the old man died, he let out a miserable scream and cursed Zhuo. In the end, he couldn't be more dead. At this moment, outside the domain, Duan Qingyao, who was about to finish setting up the killing formation, and was only one step away from completing it, was so angry that his eyes turned red, and he spat out a mouthful of blood when he saw the white-haired old man completely killed. The killing formation, which was about to be completed, suddenly collapsed, and everything was for naught. "Zhuo, you dare to kill my Pale Array Immortal City's people? You have guts." Duan Qingyao almost lost his mind. Their Pale Array Immortal City had a total of 6 half-step heaven-breaking realm experts. Now, 4 of them were completely killed, and 1 was half-crippled. Now, he was the only Pale Array Immortal City Lord left. This loss was too great. It was a huge blow to the Dan Array Immortal City. It would affect the foundation of the Dan Array Immortal City. Duan Qingyao was filled with hatred. He had underestimated Zhuo's strength and killed the old man. At the same time, Duan Qingyao felt regret. He regretted that he was too impulsive. Facing Zhuo, he directly used a forceful method to forcefully subdue him. If he knew that this Zhuo was so strong, he wouldn't have used such a forceful method. Instead, he would have used a soft strategy to subdue Zhuo. But now, everything was too late. The mistake had already been made, and it was very deep. Zhuo looked at Duan Qingyao with a strange gaze, as if looking at an idiot. "City Lord Duan, you directly ordered your subordinates to take my life. I was only acting in self-defense and accidentally killed them. Can you blame me for this? Shouldn't it be your own fault?" Zhuo said with a cold smile. Everyone in the square was dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the final result would be like this. That was 5 half-step, heaven-breaking realm experts working together. In the end, they didn't take down this Zhuo. Instead, they were easily slaughtered by this Zhuo. F***CK. Isn't this Zhuo too awesome? He's actually so powerful. In the elder group, Bu Yangrong's gaze shook. He also felt that it was inconceivable, but it was more of a trace of joy. He was very clear that in this struggle, if Zhuowen had the upper hand, he would have a way to survive. If Zhuowen was captured or killed, it was very likely that he would die. Zhu Wenlin and Bu Yangrong's thoughts were the same. At this moment, they were also pleasantly surprised. Just what is this Zhuowen's background? How can he be so strong? At the front of the elder group, Immortal City's first elder, Yu Jinghuan, frowned deeply. He looked at everything that happened in the realm, the emotions in his heart complicated and difficult to understand. Jiang Pinghui, who stood beside Yu Jinghuan, was even more dumbstruck. The emotions in her heart were like surging waves, very uneasy. At this moment, Duan Chengyao beside the realm flew into a rage. He looked at Zhuowen sinisterly and said coldly, "Zhuowen, do you really think that no one in Pill Array, Immortal City, can deal with you? Don't think that just because you killed a few half-step, heaven-breaking realm cultivators, you're invincible. In my opinion, you're still just a frog at the bottom of a well." As Duan Chengyao spoke, he stepped into the realm, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. Duan Chenyao's aura was very terrifying, much more terrifying than the white-haired old man. Wherever his aura spread, countless space and time would be annihilated, forming terrifying black holes around him. The Immortal City Lord has made his move. I think this Zhuowen is finished. The Immortal City Lord is a peak third blight expert, coupled with his powerful array Dao skills. His strength is comparable to an ordinary fourth blight expert. He is the undisputed #1 expert of our Pill Array Immortal City. And, with the Immortal City Lord making his move, this child indeed has no chance. Sigh, if the Immortal City Lord had made his move earlier, those few people might not have needed to be sacrificed. This Zhuowen is really lucky. He even dragged a few people down with him. In the square, everyone's eyes lit up when they saw Duan Chengyao enter the realm. Their eyes were bright, and they looked forward to the battle that was about to happen in the realm. In the crowd, Zhu Wenlin's body trembled, and his heart was full of sighs. He knew that this Zhuowen was most likely doomed. "Brother Zhu, you really have a good junior brother. He actually dares to act so unscrupulously in the Pill Array Immortal City. He doesn't put the Immortal City Lord in his eyes at all." Cold and mocking laughter came from behind Zhu Wenlin. Zhu Wenlin turned his head and saw Yu Ziqian with his arms crossed, looking at him coldly. Yu Ziqian was also deeply afraid of Zhuowen's battle achievements. He had even thought of a way to escape from the Pill Array Immortal City. After all, he had offended Zhuowen before. He was really afraid that this Zhuowen's strength could cover the sky with one hand. When the time came, he would act recklessly in the Pill Array Immortal City, and his life would be in danger. But now that Duan Chengyao had made his move, he was completely at ease and began to cause trouble for Zhu Wenlin, especially when he saw that Zhu Wenlin was frightened. Yu Ziqian was incomparably happy. He knew that Zhu Wenlin and Bu Yangrong were finished. Chapter 35:08. Dimensional Explosion Slap. Yu Ziqian stepped forward and slapped Zhu Wenlin. Then he took out a disc array that he had prepared earlier. Zhu Wenlin originally wanted to retaliate, but the disc array had already landed around him. It then exploded, forming rings of golden ropes that bound him to the spot. Zhu Wenlin was caught off guard. His limbs were bound, and he fell to the ground. He kept struggling, but unfortunately, he couldn't break free. Bang, bang, bang. Yu Ziqian took a step forward and kicked Zhu Wenlin mercilessly. His words were filled with insults. The surrounding people watched in silence. No one helped. Even some of Zhu Wenlin's close friends had indifferent looks on their faces. They had no intention of stepping forward to help. Zhu Wenlin's heart was filled with despair. He knew that he had fallen into a state of isolation and helplessness. Even if he was beaten to death, no one would come to his aid. At the same time, Bu Yangrong was in a similar situation. Yu Ziqian's father, Yu Yuanqing, was the first to make things difficult for Bu Yangrong. He used Bu Yangrong as an excuse to cover up for Zhuowen's participation in the Immortal City Grand Competition. In the end, it led to such a disaster. He called for the other elders to arrest Bu Yangrong. Bu Yangrong was weak, and his strength could only be considered average. Soon, he was captured by the other elders. His limbs were bound, and he lay on the ground. Grand Elder, Bu Yangrong has ulterior motives. This kind of person should be executed immediately as a warning to others. Great Elder, please allow me to personally exterminate this traitor. Yu Yuanqing asked for instructions from Yu Jinghuan. He righteously declared that he was enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. Bu Yangrong was anxious. He said, Grand Elder, you haven't investigated this matter clearly. You can't come to a conclusion so early. Moreover, even if I'm suspected of covering up, I can only be punished after the trial results are out. Also, Yu Yuanqing is using his position to avenge a private grudge. He wants to use this opportunity to kill me. I hope Grand Elder can judge clearly. Yu Yuanqing snorted coldly. Bu Yangrong, your skin is really thick. Everyone can see the mistakes you've made. Why do you need to be judged? People like you don't deserve to die. As he spoke, Yu Yuanqing took a step forward. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He planned to execute Bu Yangrong on the spot. However, Yu Jinghuan stood in front of Yu Yuanqing. Yuanqing, this matter can only be decided after the trial. Right now, you still can't decide Bu Yangrong's life and death. Yu Jinghuan said indifferently. Yu Yuanqing smiled embarrassedly and did not attack. Instead, he said with a smile, I'll follow First Elder's arrangements. Yu Jinghuan nodded and said, capture Bu Yangrong for now. Once the city governor deals with Zhuowen, we'll let the city governor make the decision. Yu Yuanqing hurriedly agreed. His eyes were filled with anger, but he did not dare to show it. After all, Yu Jinghuan was the first elder. Her status and power were far above his. How could he dare to disobey her orders? Master, the Immortal City Lord has made his move. Suddenly, Jiang Pinghui spoke, and it instantly attracted the attention of Yu Jinghuan and the other elders. Everyone in the square also focused their attention on the bounded domain. At that moment, Duan Qingyao's aura had soared to its peak. Then, he took a step forward and rushed toward Zhuowen as fast as lightning. The current Duan Qingyao was too terrifying. He was like an ancient giant beast. His pressure swept out, and the surrounding bounded domain trembled violently, emitting strange sounds. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Duan Qingyao was definitely the strongest opponent he had encountered so far, second only to Sakyamuni, 3 Pure Ones, Black King, and the other top experts. Although Zhuowen's strength had improved rapidly, he knew that he could at most fight with an ordinary 4th Blight expert. Whether he could win was still unknown. Boom! Zhuowen activated the primordial chant and adjusted his condition to the best. Then he suddenly punched out, and it was like thunder. In just an instant, Zhuowen and Duan Qingyao collided, and an unprecedented explosion erupted. It was too terrifying. It spread in all directions, and the extent of the shaking of the bounded domain was even more terrifying. Bang! 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 The moment Zhuowen and Duan Qingyao collided, the two of them exchanged dozens of blows in an instant. Each of their blows was extremely terrifying. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Duan Qingyao's strength was already at the peak of the 3rd Blight. and coupled with Duan Qingyao's super high level of array Dao, each attack was wrapped in powerful array Dao restrictions. It was very difficult to deal with, and it multiplied the power. If Zhuowen's array Dao wasn't weaker than Duan Qingyao's, he would have been completely suppressed. However, even so, Zhuowen was still at a disadvantage because Duan Qingyao's array Dao was still stronger than Zhuowen's, and his cultivation was also stronger than Zhuowen's. At this moment, it was reasonable for him to suppress Zhuowen, but Zhuowen wasn't weak. Although he was suppressed, it was impossible for Duan Qingyao to defeat him in a short time. Moreover, during the battle between Zhuowen and Duan Qingyao, he was constantly evolving the primordial chant. His perception was too terrifying. Even during normal times, his perception was many times stronger than that of ordinary cultivators. And now, during the battle, the probability of him comprehending was even higher. It was possible for him to enter an epiphany again, which would allow his cultivation to advance further. After all, Zhuowen was now an extraordinary person, and he couldn't be explained with common sense. Zhuowen's body was purple. Although he was suppressed, he became braver as the battle went on, and his eyes gradually revealed a look of enlightenment. Duan Qingyao's eyes were gloomy, and he was shocked. This boy's strength was somewhat beyond his expectations. Furthermore, he did not know if it was his misperception, but he discovered that Zhuowen's strength was rapidly increasing during the course of the battle. The speed was extremely fast. This guy is in an epiphany. Duan Qingyao saw the look of enlightenment in Zhuowen's eyes, and he was shocked. The probability of him entering an epiphany during the battle was too small. Moreover, this boy was fighting in an epiphany, and his strength was even more terrifying, which caught him off guard. No, I must interrupt this boy. Duan Qingyao felt the pressure. In his current state, he could only barely suppress Zhuowen. If he allowed Zhuowen to successfully break through, then wouldn't he be suppressed instead? This was something he absolutely couldn't allow. Realm, explode! Duan Qingyao suddenly blasted Zhuowen back, and then he took a step out of the realm. His hands formed seals, and he actually detonated the realm. At the same time, he waved his sleeve, and the surrounding spectators were all brought away from the central area. Boom, boom. The realm exploded, and blazing white light shot into the sky, tearing the sky and illuminating the entire alchemy array Dao domain. It was too dazzling. Amidst the terrifying explosion, Zhuowen suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding explosive energy was too terrifying, and it was eroding Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen's eyes were slightly clear. He took out defensive divine artifacts from his great world and used the profound creation mysterious light to surround himself tightly, and continued to enter an epiphany. He had reached a critical moment, and he absolutely couldn't stop. Otherwise, all his efforts would be in vain. As long as he successfully advanced this time, then Duan Qingyao would undoubtedly be defeated, and he could easily defeat him. Boom, boom, boom. Duan Qingyao stood in the distant void with his hands behind his back. He looked at the dazzling explosion in the distance with a mocking smile. This boy still wants to fight with me? In the end, he will still die in my hands. Chapter 35:09. The second decay amidst the terrifying realm explosion. Energy swept out and space shattered. Zhuowen was in the midst of this terrifying, explosive energy, bitterly holding on. The defensive divine artifacts surrounding him were shattering and collapsing one after another. Zhuowen's eyes were dazed. He was still in a state of epiphany, leaving only a small part of his mind to pay attention to everything in the outside world. I'm about to break through. Hold on a little longer. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He began to take out the chaos crystal and frantically absorbed the chaos energy. His aura was constantly strengthening, surpassing the aura of the peak of the first decay. Crack! Finally, the last defensive divine artifact around Zhuowen shattered. The explosive energy in the surroundings surged like a tidal wave, instantly drowning Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body was shrouded in purple light. After he cultivated the primordial mantra, the profound creation mysterious light that he used had also turned purple. Its power had increased countless times. The profound creation mysterious light barely helped Zhuowen block the explosive energy, but the purple light was quickly fading. Clearly, it couldn't hold on for long. When the profound creation mysterious light was completely annihilated, Zhuowen's eyes suddenly opened. In the depths of his eyes, there was a mysterious purple light surging. It was blazing and deep. The chaos crystal in Zhuowen's hand had completely turned into dust. Its energy had been completely absorbed by Zhuowen. This chaos crystal was left over from the last time Zhuowen had absorbed it. It only had 1/3 of its energy. Now that Zhuowen had absorbed it, he had absorbed all the energy in the chaos crystal. Because of this, he had successfully broken through. Boom! Zhuowen's aura was extremely vast. The purple light spread out in all directions like a tide, forming endless purple ripples. Zhuowen knew that he had already advanced to the second decay. Next, the second decay would descend from the depths of the universe. I'm afraid the blight this time is going to be terrifying. Zhuowen couldn't help but smile bitterly when he recalled the first decay. At that time, even the gunmetal sword rain had appeared. It was really unexpected. This time, the blight would only be more powerful. Zhuowen's purple light soared into the sky, and the surrounding explosive energy was basically blocked by Zhuowen's purple light. When the energy of the explosion gradually dissipated, Zhuowen slowly walked out and stared coldly at the complacent Duan Chengyao not far away. When Duan Chengyao saw Zhuowen, his expression was very interesting. It was as if he had been petrified, standing still on the spot. As for the people in the square, they were all petrified and felt that it was inconceivable. The self-destruction of a half-step heaven-breaker realm was enough to kill a third blight cultivator. Even someone at the peak of the third blight would be severely injured if they were hit by such an explosion. However, Zhuowen did not die. Although he looked miserable, he did not suffer too much damage. Oh my God! What kind of freak is this Zhuowen? He's actually still alive. At this moment, Yu Ziqian, who was holding the half-dead Zhu Wenlin, saw Zhuowen appear in front of him alive, and his whole body trembled. His legs went weak, and he almost fell to the ground. The elders in the distance were all dumbfounded. It was as if they had received an unprecedented blow. What's going on? This Zhuowen. Yu Yuanqing's body was also trembling. His hand holding Bu Yangrong was also trembling. Zhuowen looked calmly at Duan Chengyao, who was also in shock, and said indifferently, "Old dog Duan, this is your final move. Is this all you've got? Are you trying to tickle me?" Duan Chengyao came to his senses and heard Zhuowen call him old dog Duan. He was furious. He was the lord of the Pill Array Immortal City, the true ruler of the Pill Array Immortal City. He was respected by tens of thousands of people, and his status was extraordinary and noble. When had anyone called him old dog Duan? However, someone was insulting him, and this person was the cancer he wanted to get rid of. Zhuowen, you're very lucky to be able to survive the realm explosion. I can't help but admire your good luck. Duan Chenyao's eyes were gloomy. He still looked down on Zhuowen. He felt that Zhuowen was only lucky enough to survive. That's right. My luck is indeed good. I also believe that I can rely on my good luck to destroy you, old dog Duan. Zhuowen sneered. He stepped out with his right foot and swept to Duan Chenyao's side. In an instant, he threw a punch. Duan Qingyao snorted and waved his sleeve. Instantly, a series of array Dao restriction runes surged out and easily blocked Zhuowen's attack. Duan Qingyao grabbed Zhuowen's fist and said contemptuously, "Zhuowen, I have to say that your strength is only SOSO. There is still a certain gap between you and me. You will lose if you fight with me." Duan Qingyao was high and mighty. However, he soon realized that something was amiss. This was because he saw Zhuowen's lips curl into a mocking smile. This smile contained disdain and ridicule. "What are you laughing at?" Duan Qingyao said coldly, "I'm laughing at your stupidity. You're as stupid as a pig." Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Duan Qingyao was furious. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He stirred up all the power in his body, wanting to completely kill Zhuowen. However, he soon felt that something was wrong. He discovered that in the depths of the starry sky, there was a terrifying power surging. Rumble! Suddenly, in the depths of the starry sky, a huge black hole appeared. Then a terrifying energy descended from the black hole. This energy was too blazing. It was colorful and very bright. Of course, its power was also terrifying. Bad luck? You're actually going through a bad luck. Duan Qingyao's pupils shrank. He finally understood why Zhuowen was laughing at him. This guy deliberately lured him over to use the bad luck to trick him. "Zhuowen, you're so naive that it's ridiculous. You're at most at the peak of the first bad luck. Just now, you only broke through the second bad luck. That's only the second bad luck. And I'm already at the peak of the third bad luck. Do you think this kind of bad luck will affect me?" Duan Qingyao blasted Zhuowen away with a punch. The corner of his mouth was still filled with disdain and arrogance. He still looked down on Zhuowen. "Oh, old dog Duan, you're very confident. However, you're going to cry later." Zhuowen sneered. He was very clear about how terrifying his bad luck was. When he was going through the first bad luck, a second bad luck expert who forced their way into his bad luck was instantly annihilated. Now, his second bad luck would only be more terrifying. Duan Qingyao definitely wouldn't gain any advantage if he faced it head-on. Rumble! At this moment, the second bad luck had already descended. It was colorful and filled with powerful energy, forming a terrifying energy vortex. Duan Qingyao didn't escape. His eyes were locked on Zhuowen. The corner of his mouth was filled with bloodthirst. "Zhuowen, you'll definitely die today. Your bad luck has no effect on me at all." As he spoke, Duan Qingyao didn't care about the descending bad luck at all. He directly pounced on Zhuowen. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw out array discs, forming a terrifying restriction spear. It tore through the air and rushed towards the space between Zhuowen's eyebrows. Zhuowen cursed in his heart. This old dog Duan is a good-for-nothing. Launching an attack in this bad luck, does he really think he's immortal? However, Zhuowen didn't dare to be negligent. The pores on his body contracted, and his muscles tensed up, preparing to defend against the upcoming bad luck and Duan Qingyao. He didn't dare to take the initiative to attack. He put all his energy into defense. This was also to save energy. Rumble. Chapter 35:10. Heaven enlightening divine lightning. Zhuowen's entire body was covered in purple light. Both of his palms quickly struck out. Every palm strike landed on the spear's handle, and he was constantly pushed back. Powerful palm energy surged out. The restriction spear that was rushing towards him finally could not hold on under Zhuowen's last palm strike, and it collapsed with a loud bang. As for Duan Qingyao, he was following closely behind the restriction spear. After the restriction spear was completely destroyed by Zhuowen, Duan Qingyao decisively struck out. He punched towards Zhuowen's forehead. Zhuowen was helpless. He could only block Duan Qingyao's punch. With a groan, he could not help but take a few steps back. Duan Qingyao revealed a pleased smile. He originally wanted to attack further and kill Zhuowen, but the energy of the decay tribulation had already descended. Humph! The second decay tribulation is simply too weak to withstand a single blow. Duan Qingyao did not put the decay tribulation in his eyes. With a wave of his sleeve, he casually blocked the energy of the decay tribulation. Puchi! But very quickly, Duan Qingyao's expression changed. His attack was instantly broken through by the decay tribulation. Following that, his right hand was directly annihilated by the decay tribulation energy. Duan Qingyao let out a blood-curdling scream and quickly retreated. However, the decay tribulation seemed to have locked onto him. It chased after him relentlessly and did not let him go. At this moment, Duan Qingyao was in a very sorry state. He was being chased by the decay tribulation. He was clenching his teeth in pain, and smoke was rising from his head. As for Zhuowen, he was not much better off. He was also howling in pain from the blight tribulation. However, because of Duan Qingyao's interference, a portion of the decay tribulation's energy was split by Duan Qingyao. Therefore, Zhuowen did not feel that much pressure from the decay tribulation. At this moment, the entire sky above Dan Array Immortal City was surrounded by the terrifying decay tribulation energy. The terrifying energy was like a huge ring-shaped sun that was constantly rotating. It illuminated the entire Immortal City as if it was daytime. All the cultivators in Pill Array Immortal City were shocked. They didn't expect the blight tribulation to suddenly descend. Furthermore, this blight tribulation was a little too terrifying. The blazing energy completely submerged Duan Qingyao and Zhuowen's figures. It was impossible to see their exact positions. They could only vaguely hear Duan Qingyao and Zhuowen's miserable cries coming from above. This is Zhuowen's misfortune. This is only the second blight. How can it be so terrifying? Immortal City's Grand Elder Yu Jinghuan was in disbelief. The moment the blight descended, he could see that this was the second blight. It was clear that Zhuowen was only a first blight cultivator from the start. With this kind of cultivation, he could actually kill an early-stage third blight cultivator. This guy was too heaven-defying. What was even more heaven-defying was that this child's blight tribulation caused even Duan Qingyao to cry out in pain. He was unable to break free and was surrounded by the blight tribulation. Grand Elder, rumor has it that heaven-defying geniuses are too powerful and can fight above their realm. They are envied by the heavens, and their blight tribulations are extremely terrifying. This child might be such a heaven-defying genius. Among the group of elders, an elder said softly to Yu Jinghuan, recounting an ancient rumor. Yu Jinghuan's eyes became serious, and he bitterly said, "I'm afraid we have provoked someone we shouldn't have provoked." Yu Jinghuan agreed with this elder's words. He also thought that this Zhuowen was too heaven-defying. He was only at the first blight, yet he had such terrifying battle strength. Now that this child was going through his blight tribulation was so abnormal. Once this fellow successfully passed his blight tribulation, even the city lord, Duan Qingyao, might not be this Zhuowen's match. The blight tribulation lasted for a very long time. After 3 days and 3 nights, the terrifying blight finally showed signs of weakening. The light gradually faded. Everyone in the city used their eye techniques and immediately noticed the 2 people in the blight tribulation. They were surprised to discover that although Zhuowen's flesh was lacerated and he appeared to be dripping with blood and appeared to be in a rather miserable state, his aura was unceasingly rising. Moreover, The life force on his body was also growing stronger and stronger, surging over and rapidly healing the injuries on his body. On the other hand, the city lord, Duan Changyao, was scorched black, and his aura was weak. He had been beaten black and blue by the Blight Tribulation and was extremely weak. However, Duan Changyao was still the city lord. He took out many half-step heaven-breaking pills and swallowed them as if they were free. His vitality was quickly recovering. Duan Changyao stood up and looked at Zhuowen. The killing intent in his eyes was monstrous and terrifying. He now completely understood that he had been used by Zhuowen to go through his tribulation. This feeling of being set up made him very depressed. He felt like he was suffocating, and he just wanted to vent it out. "Zhuowen, you dare to trick me? You'll pay the price." Duan Changyao roared. He kicked off with his right foot and continued to rush toward Zhuowen. At this moment, Zhuowen's eyes suddenly opened. His eyes were filled with a strange purple light. Zhuowen turned his head and looked indifferently at Duan Changyao, who was rushing over. The corners of his mouth revealed a mocking smile. Duan Changyao was approaching Zhuowen. When he saw the smile on Zhuowen's face, his heart skipped a beat. He was all too familiar with this smile. This was the same smile this kid had when he lured him into the Blight Tribulation. Now he was smiling again. Could it be that he was going to trick him again? Humph! The Blight Tribulation is over. This kid has nothing else to rely on. He's just bluffing. Duan Changyao comforted himself and forced himself to calm down. His aura erupted like a tide, and he swooped down toward Zhuowen. "Old dog Duan, it seems like you don't have a good memory at all." Zhuowen threw out a punch and punched Duan Changyao. Zhuowen made use of the momentum of the punch to retreat. At the same time, he hooked Duan Changyao with one hand and entangled him tightly. What are you trying to do?" Duan Changyao felt that something was wrong and began to struggle. "Of course, I want you to help me pass the tribulation." Zhuowen laughed. Duan Changyao's pupils constricted. Then his scalp went numb. He felt an even more terrifying energy surging in the depths of the starry sky. Rumble! Suddenly, a golden divine thunder descended from the depths of the starry sky. It was as thick as a bucket and blasted Duan Changyao directly. Sizzle! 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 The golden electric current flowed through Duan Changyao's body. Duan Changyao screamed. His whole body convulsed. His body was charred black, and his hair stood on end as if he was roasted. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He quickly let go of Duan Changyao and quickly retreated. However, another golden divine thunder descended from the depths of the starry sky. This time, it chased after Zhuowen. It was like a golden python that instantly coiled around Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body trembled, and he cursed in his heart. His entire body was charred black, and countless electric currents flowed on the surface of his body. Damn, it's actually the apocalyptic golden lightning. I'm only in the second blight, and this kind of blight energy actually descended. You damn heavens, you're trying to kill me. Zhuowen grimaced. He took out a jade bottle and swallowed a healing elixir. He circulated the primordial chant and quickly healed his injuries. At the same time, he cursed loudly and pointed his middle finger at the depths of the starry sky. The apocalyptic golden lightning, this kind of blight energy, was usually only used in the fourth blight. Now, it had directly descended in Zhuowen's second blight. This was the rhythm of death. Chapter 35:11. Sharing, it's the heaven enlightening lightning. This should only appear in the fourth decay. This is too illogical. Yu Jinghuan, the great elder of the immortal city, was dumbfounded and did not know what to say. The heaven enlightening lightning was too terrifying. Even if it was him, if he was struck by the heaven enlightening lightning, his body and soul would be destroyed, and he would be dead. As for the immortal city lord, Duan Chengyao, with his high cultivation, he would be severely injured by the heaven enlightening lightning. Everyone in the pill array, immortal city, retreated with tacit understanding, leaving the city one after another. The heaven enlightening lightning was too terrifying. If it accidentally struck the immortal city, the entire city would be destroyed. If they continued to stay in the immortal city, they would be courting death. Just in case, it was better to leave the city as far as possible. Moreover, some cultivators were even more outrageous. They almost ran to a place where they couldn't see the city anymore before giving up. In the sky above the immortal city, countless golden lightning bolts surged and surrounded the city. These strands of lightning were like shackles that firmly locked down the sky above the pill-array immortal city. It was as if the ground had been drawn into a prison and turned into a world of golden lightning. Duan Chengyao complained. He was trapped in the heaven enlightening lightning and could not escape. He was constantly struck by lightning, and he was in a terrible state. Every time he was struck by lightning and vomited blood, he could only use the healing pills on him to quickly recover. Only then could he withstand the next wave of golden lightning. However, Duan Chengyao knew that if this continued, he would not be able to hold on for long. He would be struck to death easily. Just like that, he would become the first immortal city lord to be struck to death by lightning. This was too humiliating. He did not want to die in such a humiliating way. This guy, when Duan Chengyao looked at Zhuo, when he was stunned because Zhuowen had actually withstood the bombardment of the golden lightning. Zhuowen's body was crystal clear and surrounded by a dense purple light. He looked like a purple jade statue. Countless bolts of golden lightning struck Zhuowen's body, causing his flesh to split open and leaving him in a miserable state. However, Duan Chengyao was very observant. He could tell that although Zhuowen's physical body was in a miserable state, his physical body was very special and could recover extremely quickly. Furthermore, he discovered that Zhuowen's body seemed to have absorbed a small portion of the golden lightning after it had been split open by the golden lightning. Isn't this guy a human? How can his physical body be so strong? Duan Chenyao's heart trembled. He found it unbelievable. Zhuowen's physical body was a little too strong. He didn't seem like a human at all. Instead, he seemed more like an alien. At the same time, Duan Chengyao felt a sense of crisis in his heart. He felt that this Zhuowen could not be left alone. He knew very well that even if he could survive the tribulation of the Tian-Chi divine lightning, he would still be severely injured. However, after Zhuowen survived the tribulation, his strength would increase exponentially. The injuries on his body would recover rapidly because of the breakthrough. When that time came, he would be finished. Thinking of this, Duan Chenyao's eyes turned cold. He began to drag his injured body closer to Zhuowen. He had a lot of healing elixirs in his spirit ring, and all of them were half-step heaven-breaking divine pellets. He knew that he had to kill Zhuo when before he was severely injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the chance to do so. Finally, Duan Chengyao spent a lot of effort and was very close to Zhuowen. He swallowed a healing elixir and adjusted his body to its peak state. Then, Duan Chengyao attacked. His right hand formed a palm, and his target was Zhuowen's heart. However, the moment Duan Chenyao's right hand approached Zhuowen, it was immediately grabbed by Zhuowen and pulled back. City Lord Duan, you are still so kind. You came to help me share the burden of the divine lightning, right? Zhuowen smiled and grabbed Duan Chenyao's right hand tightly. Boom! Several bolts of heaven and divine lightning descended and landed on Zhuo when with a loud boom. The golden lightning exploded from Zhuowen's body and spread to Duan Chenyao's body in an instant. F***. Zhuowen "You bastard, let go of me!" Duan Qingyao's body, which had just recovered with the help of the elixir, was once again split open. He was bleeding and screaming in pain. His body was charred black. Zhuowen was also in a miserable state. His body, which had just recovered, was also split open by the golden lightning. His bones were almost visible. However, Zhuowen's body was not ordinary. It was the Pangu sacred body, a middle-stage 9-star Pangu sacred body. The toughness of his body had reached a terrifying level. Duan Qingyao was almost unable to resist. His whole body was trembling, and his eyes rolled back. Zhuowen was in a much better state than Duan Qingyao. Originally, he wanted to get rid of Duan Qingyao directly. However, he was now paralyzed by the golden lightning. It was difficult for him to move, and the energy in his body was not flowing smoothly. He could not unleash his killing power at all. Zhuowen saw a shining ring on the middle finger of Duan Qingyao's right hand that he was grabbing. He knew that it was Duan Qingyao's spiritual ring. He took off the spiritual ring with difficulty and slapped Duan Qingyao's face, sending him flying. After Duan Qingyao was sent flying, another golden lightning bolt fell from the sky. This golden lightning bolt did not hit Zhuowen, but Duan Qingyao. Duan Qingyao screamed in pain, like a pig being slaughtered. It was very miserable. Zhuowen took advantage of the interval between the golden lightning bolts and quickly unlocked the spiritual ring. He was pleasantly surprised to find that there were many precious elixirs in the spiritual ring. There were many half-step, heaven-breaking elixirs in the spiritual ring. There were also some bottles and jars, most of which were half-step, heaven-breaking elixirs. There were also many other precious resources. Zhuowen was dumbfounded. He could not help but admire the wealth of the immortal city lord. There were so many resources in the spiritual ring alone. These resources were much more than the total amount of resources in his great world. "I'm rich." Zhuowen was wild with joy. He immediately took out a healing elixir from the spiritual ring and swallowed it. This was a half-step, heaven-breaking elixir. Its rich medicinal power merged into Zhuowen's body and rapidly healed his injuries. Combined with Zhuowen's powerful recovery ability, most of the injuries on Zhuowen's body were healed in a short time. Although Zhuowen also had a half-step heaven-breaking elixir, the rebirth elixir, which he had just refined, it was not a healing elixir. It did not have much effect on Zhuowen's recovery. However, most of the elixirs in Duan Qingyao's spiritual ring were half-step heaven-breaking elixirs. They were extremely effective. Not far away, Duan Qingyao, who was grimacing in pain from being struck by the golden lightning, also realized that his spiritual ring had been stolen. "Zhuowen, how dare you snatch my spirit ring? Hurry up and return it to me." Duan Qingyao was mad with anger. That spiritual ring contained many of his important belongings. Its value was immeasurable. Now that it had been stolen by Zhuowen, it was truly too painful. "Return it to you? Sure." Zhuowen grinned. He took a step forward and rushed toward Duan Qingyao. At this moment, the golden lightning had just struck, and Zhuowen had already withstood it. There was still some time before the next wave of golden lightning struck. Zhuowen's injuries were completely healed under the effects of the half-step heaven-breaking elixir. At this moment, his essence, energy, and spirit had reached their peak. Chapter 35, 12. Dumbfounded. Duan Qingyao realized that something was wrong when he saw Zhuowen dashing toward him. He started to retreat without caring about his injuries. "City Governor Duan, why are you running away? I'm here to return your spiritual ring." Zhuowen smiled mockingly as he approached Duan Qingyao. Duan Qingyao was really frightened. He said hurriedly, "Just throw the spiritual ring to me. You don't have to come over." "How can I do that?" I must return it to you personally. Zhuowen was all smiles, appearing very amiable. However, his speed was very fast, and he was rapidly approaching. Bang! Duan Qingyao was seriously injured, so he was not as fast as Zhuowen. Soon, Zhuowen caught up with him. Zhuowen stomped on his face. Puff! Duan Qingyao spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with his head down. Before he could react, Zhuowen had arrived and stomped on Duan Qingyao's head. Duan Qingyao's head, which was just about to lift up, was stomped into the ground again. City Governor Duan, I haven't returned your spiritual ring. Why are you so polite? You even prostrated yourself in front of me. I'm a little embarrassed. Zhuowen said indifferently. Duan, Qingyao kept struggling. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was too strong. His head was still in the ground and could not be pulled out. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, terrifying golden lightning surged in the depths of the starry sky again. It was dazzling and brilliant. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He immediately took out several beast bone array discs and set up a confinement array to imprison Duan Qingyao. At the same time, he mercilessly punched Duan Qingyao in the back of his head. Duan Qingyao saw stars and fainted. Boom, 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 boom. The apocalyptic divine lightning struck again. This time, there were 108 bolts. They merged into a huge golden lightning dragon that filled the starry sky. Damn it! Isn't this a little too terrifying? Zhuowen's gaze turned serious. He took a step forward and leaped into the starry sky. He punched out fiercely. The primordial incantation combined with the 5 profundities instantly unleashed a peerless might. Bang, bang, bang. The golden lightning dragon was smashed and exploded into a golden rain of lightning. Then the lightning dragon roared and roared, splashing out even more terrifying lightning energy in all directions. As for Zhuowen, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was filled with electricity, and his entire body was instantly charred black. However, Zhuowen was very stubborn. He swallowed the healing elixir again to resist the lightning dragon. Then he started to absorb the terrifying energy from the lightning dragon with his Pangu's sacred body and turned it into his own. Just like this, Zhuowen and Lei Long were in a deadlock for several hours. Finally, the golden lightning dragon let out a roar. It was unable to outlast Zhuowen, and it collapsed with a loud bang, turning into countless golden lightning strands. Zhuowen fell from the sky and smashed onto the ground. His entire body seemed to have fallen apart. He looked extremely charred, like charcoal. Zhuowen lay on his back for a long time. Only then did he realize that a mysterious power came from the void and quickly poured into his body. His almost dead body began to quickly recover. Moreover, this power was constantly helping him improve his cultivation. In an instant, his cultivation rose from the peak of the first blight to the early stage of the second blight, and then to the middle stage. This tribulation was too terrifying. After Zhuowen survived, he obtained great benefits. He directly advanced to the middle stage of the second blight, and his strength skyrocketed. Zhuowen patted the dust off his body. He took out a new set of clothes from the great world and put them on. Then he walked toward Duan Qingyao, who was not far away. At this moment, Duan Qingyao was still in a trance. His entire body was in a daze. Zhuowen didn't just hit the back of his head. He also used a powerful divine sense to attack Duan Qingyao's divine sense. Otherwise, Duan Qingyao wouldn't have fainted so easily. Zhuowen lifted Duan Qingyao up and very straightforwardly tore apart Duan Qingyao's foundation. Then he casually threw him on the ground. The intense pain caused Duan Qingyao to wake up. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His lips were white and trembling. My foundation was destroyed. Duan Qingyao's face was ashen. He sensed something. He looked at Zhuowen and shouted hysterically. Unfortunately, Duan Qingyao was too weak. He couldn't even stand properly. He could only shout there. He didn't have the ability to attack Zhuowen at all. At this moment, the blight tribulation had already subsided. Those cultivators who left the Pill Array Immortal City to avoid the blight tribulation had all returned. They wanted to see what was going on between Zhuowen and Duan Qingyao. That Zhuowen should be finished. City Lord Duan is the city lord after all. In addition to that terrifying blight tribulation, Zhuowen will die even if he doesn't. Yu Ziqian carried the half-dead Zhu Wenlin and followed the crowd towards the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion. He had always believed that Duan Qingyao would win. He had blind confidence in Duan Qingyao. Under Yu Jinghuan's lead, the Elder Council was also rapidly approaching the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion. The elders of the Council of Elders were all excited. Their thoughts were similar to Yu Ziqian's. Those who were approaching the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion were inclined to believe that Duan Qingyao would win. When the blight tribulation happened, the entire Pill Array Immortal City was surrounded by terrifying energy. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. Therefore, they didn't know that Duan Qingyao was now a cripple. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soon, the crowd arrived at the square near the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion. The Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion was still standing. In the terrifying blight tribulation, the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion was still intact. This showed how extraordinary this building was. After all, it was the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's cave abode. The other buildings around the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion had long been destroyed. Not even ruins remained. The Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion stood there alone. It seemed lonely and cold. At this moment, on the flat ground in front of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch's pavilion, a figure stood like a spear. It was like a statue that had existed since ancient times. As for the other figure, he was kneeling on the ground and screaming hysterically. His voice was very miserable. Ha! That Zhuowen is kneeling and begging for mercy. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have done it. Yu Ziqian was very excited. The two figures had their backs facing him. Moreover, the surroundings were filled with smoke, so he couldn't see clearly. He was extremely fast and was the first to enter the square. He carried Zhu Wenlin and laughed, thinking that the figure kneeling on the ground was Zhuowen. However, as Yu Ziqian stopped in the square, the smoke gradually dissipated. His eyes narrowed, and his entire body froze on the spot. It was as if he had turned to stone. What did he see? Why did he have such an expression of disbelief? One after another, cultivators arrived at the square. They were all petrified and froze on the spot. They saw clearly that the figure who stood like a spear was Zhuowen. The person who was screaming hysterically was their most respected immortal city lord, Duan Qingyao. What's going on? Yu Jinghuan had also arrived with the elders. When she saw this scene, she was dumbfounded and asked subconsciously, "Thud, thud, thud." At this moment, Zhuowen moved. He slowly walked toward Duan Qingyao. Chapter 35:13. Stop cleaning. Zhuowen, stop it. He is the city lord. What are you trying to do? Yu Jinghuan reacted and shouted, trying to stop Zhuowen. Zhuowen held Duan Qingyao in one hand and looked at Yu Jinghuan from the corner of his eyes. Seeing the latter trembling in fear, his voice became softer. Ha! I'll return the city lord to you. Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he threw the half-dead Duan Qingyao towards Yu Jinghuan. Whoosh! Duan Qingyao shot out like a missile and smashed heavily into Yu Jinghuan's body. Yu Jinghuan was prepared. He gathered energy in his hands and tried to catch Duan Chengyao. Crack! However, as soon as Yu Jinghuan's hands came into contact with Duan Chengyao, he sensed a vast and terrifying energy attack him. His hands were directly broken, and his body was heavily smashed by Duan Chengyao, causing him to fly away. Splat! Yu Jinghuan fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Duan Chengyao screamed in pain and struggled. Unfortunately, Duan Chenyao's injuries were too serious. After struggling for a while, he couldn't stand up. He could only lie on the ground like a dead worm. Grand Elder, Immortal City Lord, are you all right? The elders of the Elder Committee stepped forward and helped Yu Jinghuan and Duan Chengyao to their feet. Yu Jinghuan shook his head and said, "I'm fine. I'm only slightly injured. Go and see how City Lord Duan is doing." Great Elder, City Lord Duan's foundation has been destroyed. His cultivation has been destroyed. He has become a cripple. An elder reported in fear. What? His foundation has been destroyed. Yu Jinghuan stared and hurried to Duan Chenyao's side. He found that the latter's foundation had been destroyed. At this moment, Duan Chengyao had already fainted from the impact and was unconscious. "Zhuowen, aren't you a little too ruthless? How dare you destroy City Lord Duan's foundation?" Among the elders, Yu Yuanqing's eyes were red. He glared at Zhuowen and shouted angrily. "Pa!" However, as soon as Yu Yuanqing finished speaking, he was slapped to the ground by Zhuowen. His cheeks swelled up, and he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his teeth. His entire body twitched uncontrollably. "You have guts. You are also very stupid. Even at this time, you still dare to stand out and criticize me? You're simply courting death." Zhuowen's voice was very calm and filled with coldness. Just as Yu Yuanqing was about to get up, Zhuowen slammed his palm down again. Yu Yuanqing was suppressed and slammed into the ground face first. It was as if he was embedded in the ground. All the bones in his body were shattered. He lay there motionless, clearly half dead. The elders of the Elder Committee trembled in fear, not daring to say a word. This Zhuowen in front of them was a ruthless person who had consecutively killed 5 half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses. Even the immortal city lord Duan Chengyao had been crippled by this person. In the entire Pill Array Immortal City, he was already unrivaled. "Who allowed you to tie up Elder Bu Yangrong?" Zhuowen said with a cold expression when he saw Bu Yangrong tied up behind the elder group. The elders of the Elder Committee were shocked, and they hurriedly untied Bu Yangrong. "Lord Zhua, this was Yu Yuanqing's idea. He was the one who insisted on capturing Bu Yangrong. We didn't agree at that time." After untying Bu Yangrong, the elders of the Elder Committee hurriedly explained themselves and pushed all the blame to Yu Yuanqing. "According to what you said, Yu Yuanqing indeed deserved to die." Zhuowen's voice was calm. With a flick of his finger, a purple flame swept out and landed on Yu Yuanqing, who was still lying on the ground. "Ah!" Yu Yuanqing screamed miserably. His entire body was enveloped by the purple flame, and he was quickly burned to ashes. He couldn't be more dead. Seeing this scene, the Elder Committee and the people on the square trembled with fear in their eyes. Among the crowd, Yu Ziqian knelt on the ground in fear. His father was killed just like that, and he knew that his ending wouldn't be much better than Yu Yuanqing's. "I have to run," Yu Ziqian roared in his heart. Without even thinking, he abandoned Zhu Wenlin and ran into the depths of the crowd. Zhuowen glanced sideways at Yu Ziqian's fleeing figure and said indifferently, "Yu Ziqian, did I say you could leave?" Yu Ziqian, who was originally running for his life, stopped the moment he heard this voice. However, he quickly ran even faster. Unfortunately, a purple flame was faster than him. It landed on his body and burned him to ashes. Zhuowen undid the shackles on Zhu Wenlin's body. Zhu Wenlin hurriedly walked to Zhuowen's side and stood beside Bu Yangrong respectfully. At this moment, Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin's feelings were very complicated. Zhuowen actually had the last laugh, and even the Celestial City Lord had been defeated by him. Zhuowen, what are you trying to do? You killed half a step heaven-breaking realm cultivators of my Pill Array Immortal City, and even crippled the Celestial City Lord. What is your goal? Yu Jinghuan's eyes were red, and he couldn't help but roar. Shouldn't you ask your beloved Celestial City Lord this question? At first, he forced me to stay, and after I declined, he wanted me to become his slave. In the end, he even wanted to kill me, to silence me. What? Now, I was just defending myself and accidentally crippled the Celestial City Lord. I even killed a few half-step, heaven-breaking realm cultivators. Is it all my fault? Zhuowen sneered and mocked him without holding back. He had no intention of becoming enemies with Pill Array Immortal City, and he had already made it clear. Unfortunately, the Celestial City Lord, Duan Chengyao, was too greedy and wanted him to stay, making him Duan Chenyao's free labor. Yu Jinghuan was silent. This matter was indeed started by Duan Chengyao, and he had nothing to say. But you took away the true Pill Array record remnant of our Pill Array Immortal City. That's a priceless treasure. How could we allow you to take it away? As you wish. Yu Jinghuan said in a low voice, Isn't the rule of the grand competition of Immortal City to give away 3 ancient records in the Pill Array Immortal Residence? I have the strength to reach the top floor and obtain the true Pill Array record remnant. So I didn't break the rules. It's reasonable. Could it be that your grand competition of Immortal City is a joke? You want to return the ancient records after taking them? Zhuowen sneered. Yu Jinghuan remained silent. Zhuowen wasn't wrong. After all, the remnant Pill Array true record was obtained by Mo Wuji with his own strength. If they wanted to forcefully take it back, and even force Mo Wuji to join the Pill Array Immortal City, they were indeed going overboard. This time, I'll teach your Pill Array Immortal City a lesson. You have to understand that with my strength, Zhuowen, it's not difficult for me to slaughter your Pill Array Immortal City. Once these words were spoken, the entire square was in an uproar. Everyone revealed a look of fear. They were really afraid that Zhuowen would slaughter the entire city. Yu Jinghuan was even more flustered. He quickly begged Zhuowen for mercy, telling him not to act recklessly. He hoped that he would let the other people of the Pill Array Immortal City go. Don't worry. Zhuowen, am not a bloodthirsty person. Today's matter was caused by Duan Chengyao, so I'm only looking for him to settle the score. I won't touch any of you, but if anyone dares to protect Duan Chengyao, then don't blame me for being impolite. Zhuowen said, looking at Yu Jinghuan. His gaze was calm and cold. Yu Jinghuan bitterly smiled and let go of Duan Chengyao. The other elders also continuously retreated, distancing themselves from Duan Chengyao. Zhuowen lifted up the half-dead Duan Chengyao and said to Yu Jinghuan's elders, Everyone, give me, Zhuowen, some face. Today's matter has nothing to do with Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin. I hope you won't make things difficult for them. Chapter 35:14. Refining the 6 desires spirit congealing pill. The elders looked at each other and smiled bitterly, saying that they did not dare to do so. With a ruthless person like Zhuowen around, they really did not dare to touch Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin. Zhuowen nodded. Just as he was about to leave, Duan Chengyao, who was in his hand, woke up. A surge of violent energy came from Duan Chenyao's body. Zhuowen, I won't let you go even if I die. Duan Chengyao roared. His whole body emitted a blazing light like a sun. Oh no! Duan Chengyao is going to self-destruct. Bu Yangrong and Zhu Wenlin's faces changed. Zhu Wen's eyes narrowed. Purple light surged in his right palm and entered Duan Chenyao's body. The terrifying, shattering divine power, in a tyrannical manner, quickly destroyed everything in Duan Chenyao's body, including his meridians and organs. The self-destruct energy in Duan Chenyao's body was suppressed by the shattering divine power. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhuowen suddenly threw Duan Chengyao into the sky. A purple flame surged out from his finger and landed on Duan Chenyao's body, burning him to ashes. "Everyone, see you again." Zhuowen casually finished this and left the Alchemy Array Immortal City, leaving behind a dazed crowd. Zhuowen spent a few days to leave the Alchemy Array Dao region and return to the host region. If he wanted to go to the old site of the Heavenly Armor Star, he would have to pass through the host region's Heavenly Moat. The old site of the Heavenly Armor Star was in the Heavenly Moat near the border of the 8 heavenly regions, which was near the current monster region. However, after Zhuowen returned to the East Dao region, he did not immediately go to the Heavenly Moat. Instead, he found a quieter place and attached the Great World to an inconspicuous meteorite. He then entered the Great World. Ryuka was built in the southeast region of the Great World. The region was vast and rich in resources. During this time, Ryuka was completely stationed there. With the rich resources in the Great World, Ryuka's development was flourishing. Zhuowen looked at the territory where Ryuka was. His eyes flashed, and he thought for a long time. He knew that he would leave the lower star world in the future. However, Ryuka could not leave. The chaotic starry sky was too. The 100 outer domains were full of experts. Zhuowen and the Ryuka living in the world would be destroyed. Ryuka in the great world. Ryuka and Ryuka. Ryuka. Ryuka in the great world. Ryuka, studio, and to... But now, he couldn't completely let the Long family leave the great world. He was not really invincible in the lower world. He still had many enemies, such as Wu Taiji, the master of the wizard tower in the heaven accessing place. He was no match for him yet. Once he was truly invincible in the lower star world, he would eliminate all his enemies and let Ryuka live in the lower star world. At that time, Zhuowen, who had no more worries, would leave this place and enter the primal chaos cosmos. When Zhuowen entered the Ryuka base, Dragon Xiaotian, Lu Hantian, and the other Ryuka leaders came out to welcome him. They gave Zhuowen a warm welcome. Crepe Myrtle Star even came out of seclusion and gave Zhuowen a big hug. Crepe Myrtle Star's progress was fast. He was on the verge of a breakthrough. He only needed an opportunity to break through from the Master Late Stage to the Master Peak. Zhuowen gave Crepe Myrtle Star a Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill. The Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill was a Master Peak Immortal Pill. It could help practitioners in the Master Late Stage enter a short period of enlightenment and increase their chances of advancing to the Master Peak. Crepe Myrtle Star was overjoyed after receiving the Rank 8 Marrow Cleansing Immortal Pill. He immediately went back to seclusion, intending to break through to the Master Peak. Zhuowen looked at Crepe Myrtle Star's back. He had learned that Crepe Myrtle Star had joined the Ryuka and had become the Ryuka's first Supreme Elder. His status was second only to Zhuowen. Currently, Crepe Myrtle Star was the strongest person in Ryuka. When he left the lower star world in the future, Ryuka would be under Crepe Myrtle Star's protection. Zhuowen naturally hoped that Crepe Myrtle Star's cultivation could progress further. Zhuowen, Dragon Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, Lu Hantian, and some other familiar relatives and friends chatted for a while and told them his intention to save Moyan Wushang. When, you've gathered all the divine medicines for the 6 desires spirit condensing saint pill? Feng Xiao's beautiful eyes brightened. She already knew about Moyan Wushang's situation. She knew that Moyan Wushang had deep feelings for Zhuowen. Now that she knew that Zhuowen wanted to refine the six desires spirit-condensing Saint Pill, she was naturally overjoyed. Long Xiaotian, Lu Hantian, and the others were also overjoyed. Moyan Wushang was their friend from that era. When they first learned that Moyan Wushang had lost his six desires and was unconscious, they were also sad for a long time. Now that they knew that Moyan Wushang was about to wake up, they were naturally very happy. For the next few days, Zhuowen basically stayed in his room to adjust his state. The six desires spirit-condensing Saint Pill was a top-tier ascending heaven-level divine pill. The difficulty of refining it was much higher than ordinary ascending heaven-level divine pills. Although Zhuowen's alchemy skills had reached half a step into ascending heaven level, this was related to Moyan Wushang's life. Zhuowen was very careful and could not afford to make any mistakes. When his state was at its peak, Zhuowen began to refine the pill. This furnace of divine pills, Zhuowen refined it for a full 10 days and 10 nights. He refined it very slowly and hoped that every step would be perfect. 10 days later, a strong medicinal power rushed out from Zhuowen's room and turned into a column that rushed into the depths of the sky. The momentum was very great, and it attracted the attention of many Ryuka people. It seems that the pill is done. Dragon Xiaotian and Feng Xiao walked out of the room, looked at each other, and rushed towards Zhuowen. After a while, many Ryuka people gathered outside Zhuowen's door. Creak! The door of Zhuowen's room was pushed open, and Zhuowen's eyes lit up as he walked out slowly. Dragon Xiaotian and Feng Xiao hurried forward and asked, did it succeed? The corners of Zhuowen's mouth revealed a smile and said, succeeded. Wushang can be saved. Zhuowen was very happy. After so many years, he could finally wake Moyan Wushang up personally. Boom, boom. At the same time, in another pavilion in Ryuka, a vast aura surged. Then a terrifying energy appeared in the sky and continuously condensed. Then it fell one after another, forming an earth-shattering tribulation. Someone is going through a tribulation. Who broke through? Lu Hantian looked at the terrifying tribulation in the distant sky and was puzzled. That's the tribulation at the peak of ascending heaven. Brother Crepe Myrtle has successfully broken through. Let's go. Zhuowen laughed and led everyone towards Crepe Myrtle's star, stopping at the periphery of the tribulation. Crepe Myrtle's star was indeed there. Although the tribulation was terrifying, Crepe Myrtle's star was not afraid at all. He had obtained the inheritance of the immortal bird, and his combat power was monstrous. Chapter 35:15. Awakening. Brother Ziwei, congratulations on reaching the peak of Tong Tian Lord Peak. Zhuowen stood in front of everyone and cupped his fists towards Ziwei, Star Monarch, who had passed the heavenly tribulation, with a joyful smile on his face. Ziwei, Star Monarch, landed in front of Zhuowen and said sincerely, Brother Zhuowen, if not for your rank 8 marrow-cleansing goo pill, I would not have been able to break through in such a short time. Ziwei, Star Monarch, was on the verge of breaking through, but he needed an opportunity. He needed at least hundreds of years of exploration before he could break through. But the rank 8 marrow-cleansing goo pill provided by Zhuowen was too useful to him. It forcibly shortened the time to over 10 days, allowing him to successfully break through. We are brothers. I will help you if I can. Zhuowen waved his hand, telling Ziwei, Star Monarch, not to be so courteous. When you have successfully refined the 6 desires spirit-condensing Saint Pill, when do you plan to give it to Wushang? Feng Xiao asked. Now, Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. In Zhuowen's room, Zhuowen stood in the middle of the living room. Other than him, there were Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, Lu Hantian, Wu Dai, and Ziwei Star Monarch. Ziwei Star Monarch also learned about Mo Yen Wushang from Lu Hantian's explanation. He was moved by Mo Yen Wushang's magnificent feat back then. Zhuowen gently took out a jade coffin. In the jade coffin, there was a beautiful woman lying quietly. The woman's eyes were closed, as if she had fallen into a sweet sleep. She was like a sleeping beauty. The moment he saw the woman, Zhuowen's lips trembled, his shoulders trembled, and tears flashed in his eyes. She was Mo Yen Wushang, the woman who had given up everything for Zhuowen. She was also a pain in Zhuowen's heart that he could not let go of. Zhuowen opened the coffin and fed the 6 desires spirit condensing Saint Pill into Moyen Wushang's mouth. The elixir melted like snow and melted into Moyen Wushang's mouth. Then, the blazing power of the elixir filled Moyen Wushang's mouth and entered deep into her body. At that moment, Moyen Wushang's entire body was glowing. It was sparkling and translucent like a crystal. It was dazzling and mysterious. Endless rays of light emanated from Moyen Wushang's body and surged in all directions. Zhuowen and the others retreated to the door. They looked at Mo Yen Wushang, who was glowing. They were very nervous. They hoped that a miracle would happen. They hoped that the 6 desires spirit condensing Saint Pill would wake Mo Yen Wushang up. Time passed, and Zhuowen became more and more nervous. Moyen of Wushang's body was emitting a very strong light, and it was getting stronger and stronger. It enveloped the entire room. When the light gradually faded, Zhuowen and the others entered the vicinity of the jade coffin. Zhuowen was disappointed to find that Moyen Wushang's eyes were still closed. She was still in a deep sleep. When Wushang moved, suddenly, Feng Xiao's beautiful eyes revealed a look of surprise. She reminded Zhuowen. Zhuowen's body trembled. His eyes fell on Moyen Wushang's hands. He was excited to find that Moyen Wushang's hands had indeed moved. Then, Zhuowen saw that Moyen Wushang's eyelashes began to move. Then, her eyelids, which had not opened for a long time, slowly opened. Zhuowen saw a pair of beautiful eyes. Moyen Wushang's beautiful eyes were full of confusion. She squinted her eyes as if she had not adapted to the strong light here. Zhuowen, Moyen Wushang adapted to the strong light and finally saw the face of the man standing in front of her. Her beautiful eyes were at a loss at first, and then they revealed a look of surprise. She hugged Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes revealed tenderness. He gently hugged Moyen Wushang. The two did not speak for a long time. They just hugged like this, as if time had stopped. As for Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others, they all consciously left the room. After a long time, Moyen Wushang released Zhuowen. Her beautiful face was full of crimson. Zhuowen, I was a little impulsive just now. I hope you don't mind too much. Moyen Wushang's eyes squinted. She did not dare to look at Zhuowen. She was a little shy. Zhuowen hugged Moyen Wushang and took a deep breath. He whispered in Moyen Wushang's ear, Wushang, you have to be careful. Are you willing to be my wife? Moyen Wushang had done too much for him. She had even lost her life because of him. Moreover, Moyen Wushang had never asked for anything in return. He knew that Moyen Wushang had done this because she liked him. He could completely imagine that a woman was silently sacrificing for him. But because of Mu Qinxue, she did not dare to approach him, let alone hope to be with him. She was only in the corner, looking at his back with envious eyes, silently wishing him and Mu Qinxue happiness. Zhuowen completely understood Moyen Wushang's feelings for him. This debt of love was too heavy. He had to repay it, and he had to make it up to Moyen Wushang. The moment Moyen Wushang heard this sentence, his mind went blank and his delicate body trembled violently. This was because he was excited. Moyen Wushang didn't expect Zhuo Wen to say such words. Tears involuntarily fell from her eyes. She silently pushed Zhuo Wen away. Looking at the confused expression on the latter's face, she cried and shook her head. Zhuo Wen, I can't accept it. Zhuo Wen was at a loss. He took a step forward and said, Wu Shang, I know what you are worried about. I have already told Chen Shui about your matter. Chen Shui is willing to accept you. She is like a sister to you. You can coexist peacefully in the future. We can live happily together. Moyen Wushang's cheeks were full of tears. She was still retreating, and she stopped Zhuo Wen from approaching. Zhuo Wen stopped. He looked at the beautiful woman in front of him. He suddenly had a feeling that there was an invisible barrier between them. This feeling was very strange. It made Zhuo Wen feel a little irritable. Wu Shang, what happened? Zhuo Wen asked, somewhat puzzled. Moyen Wushang shook her head and said, Zhuo Wen, I just woke up. I am a little tired. Can you let me rest for a while? Zhuo Wen opened his mouth, but in the end, he nodded dejectedly. He took out a jade bottle from his sleeve and placed it on the table. These are all divine pills for strengthening one's foundation. Wu Shang, you just woke up and your vitality is weak. These divine pills will be of great benefit to you. Zhuo Wen said. Moyen Wushang took the jade bottle. Without looking at Zhuo Wen, she said, Zhuo Wen, thank you. I will accept these divine pills. You can leave first. Let me rest for a while. Zhuo Wen nodded and left the room. For some reason, Zhuo Wen felt that Moyen Wushang was a little strange after waking up. It was as if there was something that was hard to say. Why did you come out so quickly? Why didn't you accompany Wu Shang more? Outside the door, Feng Xiao, Long Xiaotian, and the others were all there. When they saw Zhuo Wen come out so quickly, they all revealed a look of surprise. They felt that it was very strange. Zhuo Wen smiled bitterly and said, Wu Shang just woke up. She said that she needed to rest, so I didn't disturb her. That's right. Wu Shang has been asleep for so long. Her mind is exhausted. We don't need to disturb her today. Let's come back another day. Feng Xiao nodded. She felt that Zhuo Wen's words were reasonable. Everyone dispersed. Before Zhuo Wen left, he took a deep look at Moyen Wushang's room. He sighed and entered another room in the courtyard. In the room, Moyen Wushang hugged her knees and cried silently. Chapter 35:16. Emotionless and desireless Moyen Wushang. You still not understand? Didn't I explain everything to you in your divine soul during the years you were in a deep slumber? You are the second desireless in this starry sky. Although you seem to have recovered 6 of your 7 emotions and 6 desires were once severed. Now, if you want to sever them again, it will be much easier than before. Just the fact that you are a desireless means that you can't escape the responsibility that you bear. Although you don't have the bloodline of the Nuwa clan in your body, and you are a bastard, you have severed your 6 desires. Thus, you have the obligation to become a member of the Nuwa clan. After you enter the Nuwa clan, the king of our clan will completely change your bloodline and let you become a true member of the Nuwa clan. That is a supreme honor. And this is also your only chance to leave this disgusting starry sky of the lower realms. An indifferent voice resounded in Moyen Wushang's divine soul. The source of this voice was actually an insignificant red dot in Moyen Wushang's divine soul. This red dot was very strange. It was soundless and had no aura at all. It was as if it was a part of Moyen Wushang's divine soul. If this red dot had any strange aura, Zhuo Wen's sharp divine soul would have noticed it long ago. I said that I don't want to leave this place. My friends and family are here. No matter how good the Nuwa clan is, I don't want to go, Moyen Wushang said stubbornly. He, you have no choice but to go. You must know that our Nuwa clan has implemented the emotionless and desireless plan for many starry sky fruits. There are simply too few people who can successfully become emotionless or desireless. Many people have died in many starry sky fruits, but not a single emotionless or desireless has appeared. However, this starry sky of the lower realms is somewhat inconceivable. In just a few eras, 2 desireless have appeared. You can't escape. You have to leave this place. Also, you know how powerful our clan is, right? As long as the experts of our clan descend, it will be easy to destroy this starry sky of the lower realms. If you are still so stubborn after we take you away, we will directly destroy this starry sky fruit. Let it die prematurely. The red dot's voice sounded again. This time, it was a blatant threat. He felt that Moyen Wushang was too disobedient. No, you can't destroy this starry sky. Moyen Wushang, on the other hand, was terrified. While she was sleeping, she learned a lot from the red dot. She knew that they were only in the starry sky of the lower worlds. It was just one of the countless starry sky fruits in the primordial Hong Meng tree, so it was insignificant. In the vicinity of the primordial Hong tree, there was a world called the 100 Territories. In this world, there were far too many heaven-crushing cultivators. However, they could only be considered to be at the bottom of the hierarchy. There were even more powerful beings who were more powerful than the heaven-crushing stage cultivators. Each and every one of them could easily destroy the starry sky fruit on the primordial Hong tree. The Nuwa clan behind the red dot was one of the clans in one of the 100 domains. There were many experts in the clan, so destroying the starry sky fruit they were in would indeed be a piece of cake. If you don't want this starry sky to be destroyed, then listen to me. The Nuwa clan's experts will soon descend, and they will take you away. As long as you are obedient, this starry sky will be very safe. And that little lover of yours, you can't have an affair with him. Otherwise, he will die a horrible death. Your body must be complete and flawless. Only then can you accept the next trial. The moment you become a true merciless one, you will become the new goddess of the Nuwa clan, and I will be the hero of the Nuwa clan. At that time, we will enjoy unparalleled glory and wealth. The red dot's voice became very proud, as if it had thought of an ideal situation. Moyen Wushang, on the other hand, was dejected. However, he was silently apologizing to Zhuowen in his heart. In the next few days, Zhuowen went to find Moyen Wushang every day. However, the latter refused to see him because he had not rested well. Zhuowen gradually realized that something was wrong. Moyen Wushang's attitude towards him was too strange. Could it be that something had happened, or did he do something wrong? Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others also knew about Moyen Wushang. They also wanted to visit Moyen Wushang, but unfortunately, they were also refused. For more than 10 days, Moyen Wushang was almost cooped up in his room, refusing to see anyone. This made Long Xiaotian, Feng Xiao, and the others very depressed. However, they did not think too much about it. They all thought that Moyen Wushang had been sleeping for too long, and for a while he had not adapted, so his temperament might have changed. Zhuowen, who had been refused entry for many days, finally did not knock on Moyen Wushang's door. His thoughts were the same as Feng Xiao and the others. They thought that Moyen Wushang should be allowed to recover. Zhuowen planned to leave the outside world and go to the old site of the Heavenly Armor Star to find traces of Mu Qinxue. He did not want to delay this matter any longer. When Mu Qinxue was found, He planned to come with Mu Qinxue to find Moyan Wushang to have a heart-to-heart talk, hoping to help Moyan Wushang recover. Walking out of the outside world, Zhuowen went straight to the border between the host region and the Heavenly Moat. A few days later, Zhuowen arrived at the dock set up by the host region at the Heavenly Moat. The Heavenly Moat lay in front of him, like an abyss, so deep that he could not see the bottom. This Heavenly Moat was said to have existed since ancient times and had a long history. No one knew if there was an end to this Heavenly Moat. It was said that there was a cultivator who wanted to go deep into the Heavenly Moat to explore. After falling for decades, he still did not reach the bottom of the Heavenly Moat. In the end, he had no choice but to return. But today, the Heavenly Moat dock was actually sealed. On the dock, many cultivators gathered, all protesting. What's going on? Why is the dock sealed? Zhuowen casually asked a cultivator working at the dock. Fellow Taoist, don't you know? Recently, a strange beast suddenly appeared in the depths of the Heavenly Moat. This strange beast appears and disappears like a ghost. Its speed is extremely fast. Many cultivators who crossed the Heavenly Moat were all swallowed by this strange beast. Among them, there are many Tao-confirming experts. There are even Heavenly Master experts. The cultivators said in horror, "Strange beast? What does it look like?" Zhuowen was surprised. There were indeed many strange beasts in the Heavenly Moat, but their strength was very ordinary. When Zhuowen had just reached Tao confirming not long ago, he had crossed the Heavenly Moat without any danger. Generally speaking, cultivators above the Tao confirming realm could smoothly cross the Heavenly Moat. But now, even Heavenly Master cultivators had died in the hands of that strange beast, which made Zhuowen feel strange. When did such a terrifying strange beast appear in the Heavenly Moat? Even Heavenly Master cultivators were not its opponents. Chapter 35:17. The Heavenly Chasm. Fellow cultivator, I advise you to leave this place. Don't even think about going to the Heavenly Chasm. This place is an abyss of no return. When the cultivator saw that Zhuowen had no intention of leaving, he couldn't help but kindly remind Zhuowen to leave as soon as possible. Zhuowen smiled and nodded before continuing to walk towards the pier. Sigh, you really aren't afraid of death at all. Forget it. There will always be a group of people who don't believe in heresy. If they really lose their lives, then it's really over. The cultivator saw that Zhuowen wasn't listening to his advice and didn't say anything else. He just shook his head and sighed. At this moment, many cultivators had gathered at the pier. Most of these cultivators were planning to pass through the Heavenly Chasm and head to the demon realm. And in front of these cultivators, a middle-aged man was blocking the edge of the pier. At the same time, Zhuowen also discovered that there was a sealing power at the edge of the pier. This sealing power was quite extraordinary. It was a god of creation restriction. Everyone, I'm also thinking about your lives. A terrifying mutant beast has indeed appeared in the Heavenly Chasm. Even a powerful being from the Heavenly Chasm died in the mouth of this mutant beast. If you think you're stronger than the Heavenly Chasm Lord, then pretend I didn't say anything. The middle-aged man suddenly released a powerful aura, instantly intimidating the noisy crowd. This person was actually a god of creation. Fellow cultivator, we're originally from the demon realm. We came to the Xian Mi Heaven domain just to do some small business. When we first arrived, why wasn't there this mutant beast? Now that we're about to leave, you're saying that such a mutant beast suddenly appeared? This is too much of a coincidence. If this is true, then we deserve to die in the Heavenly Chasm. But if it's just a lie made up by you, then don't blame us for sending a message to the demon realm cultivators and asking them to come and take us back. At that time, you'll be responsible for it. An elder slowly walked out from the crowd. This elder's aura was not weaker than the middle-aged man's. In fact, he was even stronger. He was a peak god of creation. Beside the old man, there was a beautiful young girl. As soon as this old man appeared, everyone stopped talking. It was obvious that this old man's reputation was not low. Hearing this, the middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. If this matter really reached the ears of the cultivators from the demon area, he would be in big trouble. Since you insist on entering the heavenly moat, don't blame me for not warning you if anything happens. The middle-aged man's face turned slightly unsightly as he released the restrictions on the dock. There's no need for you to worry, fellow Taoist. The old man smiled. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out a huge flying divine artifact, following which the crowd on the pier followed the old man and entered the flying artifact. When Zhuowen saw this scene, he understood that these people should be caravans from the demon domain. They should be here to do business in the Xianmi heavenly domain. The old man was obviously the leader of the caravan. After the barrier around the dock was lifted, Zhuowen took the opportunity to leave the dock. He took out his flying divine artifact and left the dock. Grandpa, look, that person doesn't seem to be from our caravan. He actually crossed the heavenly moat alone. On the deck of the caravan's spaceship, the young woman beside the old man noticed Zhuowen leaving and couldn't help but speak up. The old man didn't care at all. Don't worry about it. This person should be a cultivator from the Xianmi heavenly domain. Maybe he wants to go to the demon area. His aura is not strong, yet he dares to cross the heavenly moat alone. He will most likely die in the heavenly moat. The young woman curled her lips and didn't pay much attention to Zhuowen. She trusted her grandpa's judgment. Since her grandpa said that this cultivator would die in the heavenly moat, then he would definitely die. She couldn't be bothered to pay attention to a dead person. Not long after Zhuowen left, the caravan's spaceship also set off. The gravity of the heavenly moat was still very terrifying. Zhuowen also discovered that the gravity of the heavenly moat now seemed to be much more terrifying than when he had first arrived. In addition, the number of all kinds of strange beasts in the heavenly moat had also increased. There was no lack of strange beasts at the Tao validation realm. One had to know that when he had first entered the heavenly moat, there weren't many Tao validation realm strange beasts. They were relatively rare. Now, he could see them every once in a while. The heavenly moat has become much more dangerous than before. What happened? Zhuowen frowned. With the current level of danger of the heavenly moat, if Zhuowen was still at the heavenly Tao master level, he would probably die in the heavenly moat before he could cross 1/3 of the journey. Puchi, Zhuowen flicked his finger and killed a heavenly fate realm strange beast blocking his way. His expression didn't look good. He looked towards the depths of the heavenly moat. For some reason, he felt that there was an eye in the deepest part of the heavenly moat that was watching his every move. This feeling was very strong and lingered in Zhuowen's mind for a long time. This place is too strange. It's better to leave quickly. Zhuowen increased the speed of the space-time roulette and instantly fled. He wanted to cross the heavenly moat in the shortest time possible. The current heavenly moat made him feel a little uneasy. He didn't want to stay here for too long. Boom! Not long after Zhuowen fled, a black bolt of lightning silently appeared in the depths of the heavenly moat and instantly struck the space-time roulette. This black bolt of lightning was very strange. It wrapped around the space-time roulette and emitted crackling sounds. It was like a giant hand that was pulling the space-time roulette, causing it to suddenly stop moving forward. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. The black bolt of lightning flowed along the surface of the space-time roulette and entered the roulette to attack Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he punched out. Purple light surged and directly hit the black bolt of lightning. Crack! 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 What surprised Zhuowen was that when his fist landed on the black bolt of lightning, the black bolt of lightning immediately dissipated. It was simply too weak. Then Zhuowen tore at the black bolt of lightning and completely annihilated it. This black bolt of lightning contains a trace of fragmented divine power. Although it's very weak, its power is unparalleled. It has surpassed the energy of the heavenly Tao. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise. He had originally thought that he was the only one who could use fragmented divine power in this galaxy. But now, he had discovered a second case. Although the fragmented divine power in the black bolt of lightning was extremely thin and far inferior to the primordial chaos technique that he cultivated, it was still extremely impressive to be able to contain a trace of fragmented divine power. Its energy level had already surpassed most of the living beings in this galaxy. Zhuowen put away the space-time roulette, and his gaze fell on the depths of the heavenly moat again. It was pitch black there, and nothing could be seen. However, Zhuowen was extremely excited, as if he had discovered a new continent. He no longer moved forward. Instead, purple light flickered around his body, and he began to rapidly descend. He wanted to find the source of the black bolt of lightning and see what was causing trouble. Roar! In the depths of the heavenly moat, a black figure slowly opened its eyes. This pair of eyes was black, and the same color as the surroundings. The black figure roared, and its voice was filled with a trace of anxiety. Then, the black figure suddenly rushed out and disappeared into the depths of the heavenly moat at an extremely fast speed. This heavenly moat is really dark. It's almost bottomless. Chapter 35:18. Black Dragon. Suddenly, Zhuowen sensed a violent fluctuation. Then, he discovered that there was a fierce gust of wind in the darkness below, and something was rushing over from the darkness below. Zhuowen's divine sense was very alert, and he immediately reacted. Then, he punched out, and the purple intent exploded, colliding head-on with a terrifying object below. Bang! 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 The black shadow below roared, and instantly broke through the purple intent, rushing toward Zhuowen. Meanwhile, Zhuowen had already quickly retreated. It was too dark below, and although his divine sense was alert, it was already suppressed by a mysterious power, so he did not have the advantage above. So fast! Not long after Zhuowen retreated, he discovered that the black shadow had already appeared behind him, and a huge tail suddenly swept over. Its target was the back of Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen instantly used the 5 great mysteries of Pangu and punched out, fiercely colliding with the tail, and a terrifying energy ripple exploded. Meanwhile, Zhuowen continuously retreated, falling into the depths of the darkness. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He had somewhat guessed the Black Shadow's goal. It wanted to make him go into the depths of the darkness and then attack him. He was very clear that the deeper he went into the darkness, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Zhuowen did not even think, and summoned his clone to merge with his main body. His aura instantly skyrocketed, and his strength rose steadily. Boom! Zhuowen punched out, and like a rising purple sun, it was dazzling, and it was difficult to look at directly. The black shadow that originally had the upper hand was repeatedly pushed back by Zhuowen's punch, and it was actually suppressed by Zhuowen. Bang! 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 The two instantly tangled together, and each collision was like the collapse of heaven and earth. The surrounding darkness seemed to tremble and disperse. It was too terrifying. Roar! Roar! The black shadow continuously roared. It was very angry that it was actually suppressed by a mere human. At the same time, the black shadow also felt that it was inconceivable because it discovered that the human in front of it actually had the power of shattering God. This was a power that could only be grasped by breaking heaven tier elites, but this human clearly had not broken heaven, and actually had this level of power in advance. Wasn't this a bit too heaven-defying? Trying to escape? Zhuowen's divine senses were sharp, and he immediately sensed that the shadow was trying to escape into the darkness. He took a step forward and blocked the black shadow's path. He punched out again and again, and the purple light from his fists filled the sky, illuminating the surroundings into a mysterious purple world. The black shadow was helpless. Its speed was terrifying, but it couldn't shake off the human in front of it. Zhuowen cultivated the primordial chaos art. The speed of his movement technique was absolutely one of the best under this starry sky. Although this black shadow was extremely fast, it was only about the same speed as him. Zhuowen punched out again, and the black shadow was completely suppressed. Moreover, it was beaten by Zhuowen to the point that it could only retreat towards the top of the natural chasm. Soon, the two of them left the dark area of the natural moat. Zhuowen finally saw the true face of the black shadow. This was a black dragon that was several thousand feet long. This black dragon was very strange. The scales on its surface were actually metal, and there was a strange and terrifying black lightning on the metal scales. And this black lightning was not unfamiliar to Zhuowen. It was the black lightning that contained a sliver of shattered divine power that had attacked him at the beginning. Zhuowen's expression was strange as he looked at this black dragon. He felt that this black dragon was not like a living creature of flesh and blood, but more like a kind of mechanical metal life form. This was because the scales on the surface of this black dragon were basically exuding a metallic luster. If it didn't move, it would definitely be mistaken for a black dragon statue that was forged from metal. Roar! The black dragon roared, and the black lightning around its body became denser. In an instant, the area of several billion miles was covered by black lightning, forming a domain of black lightning. Looks like it's for real. Zhuowen's body flickered with purple light, resisting the terrifying black lightning around him. His gaze was solemn as he looked at the black dragon that was charging towards him. He was not afraid. He took a step forward and instantly engaged in battle with the black dragon. The domain of black lightning was too big, and the sound was unprecedentedly loud. The living creatures on both sides of the natural moat could hear it clearly. Some of the weaker living creatures were so scared that they hid. Not far away from the domain of black lightning, the spaceship of the caravan that Zhuowen encountered was flying in an orderly manner. Head, what is that? What a terrifying energy fluctuation. A domain of black lightning suddenly appeared there. On the deck of the spaceship, a cultivator hurried to the front of the old man and reported with a panicked gaze. The old man stood at the bow of the spaceship and ordered the spaceship to stop first. He looked at the domain of black lightning with a solemn gaze. "Grandpa, what is going on?" "That place is so terrifying." The young girl standing beside the old man's beautiful eyes were filled with fear. Although her cultivation was not high, she was not a fool. The energy fluctuation in front of her was so terrifying that she could tell at a glance that there was a supreme expert inside. Moreover, this expert was very strong. Their spaceship might not even be able to withstand a single slap from him. There are experts fighting inside, and such a terrifying energy fluctuation. I'm afraid that only an expert at the pinnacle of the heavenly master level can cause such a commotion. The old man's gaze was complicated, with a trace of fear and reverence. "Head, what should we do now?" "That domain is too big, and where it is, space and time collapse, and black holes appear everywhere. Our spaceship can't even get close. Once we get close, I'm afraid it will collapse." The cultivator, who reported, said in fear, "Let's stop at a safe distance first. We'll wait and see. We definitely can't go over now. If we go over, we'll be courting death. We can only wait for the battle between the two experts to end before we can go over." The old man said in a deep voice. At the old man's command, the cultivators on the deck all got busy. When the spaceship stopped at a safe distance, the people on the spaceship were relieved. They looked at the battlefield in the distance. They were all curious as to who it was that could cause such a huge commotion. "It's a huge black dragon and a human expert fighting." The old man looked into the distance and vaguely saw the scene inside the black lightning domain. However, the scene was too blurry. He could only make out that the two sides were a human and a dragon. Black dragon? Could it be that the black dragon is the strange beast that the person in charge of the docks said has been appearing and disappearing in Heaven's moat? It's said that even the heavenly master died in its hands. The young girl thought of something and could not help but say. The old man took a deep breath and said, "It's very possible. I thought that the person in charge of the docks was talking nonsense. Now, it seems like it's true. Moreover, Heaven's moat has become very strange. It's much more dangerous than when we came here, and the gravity is also much stronger. If this senior didn't encounter the black dragon first, I'm afraid we would be in trouble." Chapter 35:19. Mechanical Life Bang. 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 The battle between Zhuowen and Hei Long had reached its climax. Both sides were displaying their abilities. Violent energy spread out, causing some of the matter in the surroundings to disappear. The black lightning domain was even more terrifying. As far as the eye could see, it was filled with black lightning that rumbled endlessly. Zhuowen's gaze became serious. Purple light filled his body as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. Before this, Hei Long had been suppressed by him. But now, he knew that Hei Long was going to go all out. This made him cautious and did not dare to be careless. Roar! Hei Long roared. The surrounding black lightning domain suddenly shrank and entered Hei Long's body, causing Hei Long's aura to reach an unprecedented level. Whoosh! The black dragon's pitch-black eyes stared emotionlessly at Zhuowen. Soon after, it shot out like an arrow and arrived in front of Zhuowen in the blink of an eye. Hei Long's aura was too powerful. Wherever he passed, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Black lightning constantly exploded, dazzling people and making it difficult to look at. Moreover, Zhuowen discovered that as Hei Long's aura continued to increase, the aura of the shattered divine power in his body became even stronger. Zhuowen did not dare to be careless. He knew that Hei Long was going to use his ultimate move. Its power was definitely extraordinary. Meanwhile, Zhuowen stirred the energy around him. In an instant, purple light soared into the sky, forming a purple pillar that connected heaven and earth. Zhuowen circulated the primordial chant and used his full strength. He threw out a punch, which was like a purple sun that could not be looked at directly. Rumble! Hei Long arrived in front of Zhuowen in an instant. His huge dragon claws whistled through the air, bringing with them terrifying black lightning that crackled endlessly. When the fist and claw collided, a terrifying energy ripple exploded. Layer upon layer, it was as if the entire space was shattered by these terrifying ripples. Immediately after, the space around them began to collapse inch by inch. Moreover, this destruction was continuous. It continued to spread in all directions, causing the surrounding space to become a deathly black. It was as if a drop of ink had been dropped in this space. The ink spread in all directions and dyed the surroundings black. Retreat! Retreat! In the distance, the merchant caravan that was watching from the side panicked when they saw the darkness that was constantly spreading. The old man standing on the deck even shouted loudly for the merchant caravan to quickly retreat. The darkness spread too quickly and covered an extremely wide area. He had no doubt that if they were enveloped by the darkness, they would definitely die. The caravan quickly retreated. Only after retreating to a safe distance did everyone relax. Many people's backs were already drenched in sweat. "Grandpa, this who will win?" The young girl beside the old man was also shocked by this scene and could not help but ask the old man beside her, these two are both half-step, heaven-shattering, realm-peerless powerhouses. When they were fighting, I actually couldn't see clearly." The old man's face was slightly red. Although Zhuowen and the black dragon were fighting fiercely, the two's radiance was really too dazzling. The old man's cultivation was far inferior to the two, and his divine sense was also limited. Therefore, he was unable to clearly see the two's specific battle situation. The young girl's cherry lips curled slightly, but her beautiful eyes looked into the darkness, revealing yearning and reverence. She did not think that half-step, heaven-shattering realm powerhouses were actually so powerful. She had always grown up under the old man's protection. In the past, she naively thought that her grandfather was the pinnacle powerhouse, and no one was her grandfather's match. But now, she knew that she was a frog in a well. In the eyes of half-step, heaven-shattering realm powerhouses, everyone was ants, including her grandfather. "I also want to become that kind of powerhouse. In the future, Grandpa, you don't have to protect me, but I'll protect you," the young girl said with a smile. The old man rubbed the young girl's head and said, "It's enough that you have this intention, but half-step, heaven-shattering realm is seriously too far." The old man had not finished speaking when he suddenly discovered that the darkness ahead was rapidly fading away. Subsequently, they also finally saw clearly everything that happened in the depths of the darkness, only to see a figure emitting a purple light all over, standing above the natural chasm. And what made everyone dumbstruck was that under this figure's feet was an incomparably huge black dragon. At this moment, the black dragon was dripping with blood. Many of the dragon scales that suffused with a metallic luster were rolled up and flipped open, revealing the bloody flesh inside. What was strange was that the black dragon's blood was black. Even the flesh that was exposed inside was also very strange. It was pitch black, not like a physical body that a living creature should have. The black dragon was very weak, constantly roaring and twisting its dragon body, wanting to shake off the figure on top of it. Unfortunately, it did all this in vain. In the end, it drooped its head, not wanting to move anymore. "Grandpa, that human powerhouse won." When the young girl saw this scene, she could not help but jump up in excitement. "Let's hurry over and pay respects to this lord. When the time comes, you can't be rude. This is a half-step, heaven-shattering, realm-supreme powerhouse. You must treat him with caution." The old man's gaze was solemn, and after repeatedly warning the young girl, he urged the caravan to rush towards that figure. At this moment, Zhuowen was riding on the black dragon's head, both hands holding the black dragon's two horns. The black dragon was powerless, constantly howling. It was almost beaten half to death by Zhuowen, and at this moment, how could it have the strength to resist Zhuowen? Zhuowen casually wiped a drop of black blood on the black dragon's head, and his gaze became very strange as he sniffed it, because he found that this black blood was not blood at all, but instead more like a kind of energy fluid. Rip! Zhuowen tore off a dragon scale on the black dragon's head, and his right hand reached inside. He actually felt many lines inside. These lines exuded a strange light and had an indescribable power. "This is a mechanical life." Zhuowen's eyes flashed, feeling incredulous. He fell into deep thought, thinking a lot, and felt that this black dragon was definitely not a product of this starry sky. Although the starry sky he was in also had many life planets with technological civilizations, in general the technological civilization was not developed, and it was even more impossible to create this kind of mechanical life with strength comparable to a half-step heaven-shattering realm. Could this black dragon have come from another starry sky? Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He was not the ignorant person he used to be, and knew the so-called starry sky of the lower realm and the 100 outer realms. Moreover, he also knew that the starry sky of the lower realm was not just his starry sky, but also the starry sky of other civilizations. And this black dragon was obviously a product of another starry sky civilization. But how did this black dragon enter the starry sky he was in? Moreover, there was actually a trace of shattered divine power in the black dragon's body, which was very extraordinary. Thinking of this, Zhuowen's eyes fell on the darkness in the depths of the natural chasm. Could there be another world under this natural chasm? Zhuowen thought in his heart, and felt that this was the most likely. After all, this black dragon had appeared from the depths of this natural chasm. Moreover, it had suddenly appeared recently. Perhaps there was a passage in the depths of this natural chasm that led to another starry sky. Greetings, Senior. I am Lu Chengfeng. At this moment, the caravan had already approached. The old man standing at the forefront of the deck hurriedly cupped his hands and lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhuowen, and spoke respectfully. Zhuowen's thoughts were interrupted by the old man's words, and he could not help but turn his head, looking at the caravan with a look of surprise. Chapter 35:20 Golden Corner Starry Skies. The instant Zhuowen turned his head, the young girl immediately saw Zhuowen's appearance clearly and involuntarily cried out. The old man's heart thumped, and hurriedly pulled the young girl, making her bow to Zhuowen. Your Excellency, this is my granddaughter, she hasn't seen the world, so if there are areas where her etiquette is lacking, Your Excellency, please don't take offense. The old man was meticulous and immediately apologized to Zhuowen. At the same time, only then did he raise his head to look at Zhuowen. The instant he saw Zhuowen's appearance, he was also stunned, his gaze revealing a look of disbelief. The two of you were really fated to meet again, Zhuowen said with a smile that was not a smile. Thud! The old man came back to his senses very quickly and immediately pulled the young girl beside him to kneel down, his body trembling as he said, Didn't expect that it's Your Excellency. This lowly one didn't know previously and shouldn't have made rash conclusions. Your Excellency, please be magnanimous and spare us. The old man broke out in cold sweat, his back long drenched. Back then, when Zhuowen took the lead to leave the dock, he had once asserted that Zhuowen would die without a doubt. His words very impudent. Although Zhuowen was already far away at that time, he knew that a powerhouse like Zhuowen, even if he was very far away, he probably also heard his words on the flying ship back then. That was why he hurriedly knelt on the ground to apologize. When the other people in the caravan saw the old man kneel down, they also knelt down one after another, not daring to look directly at Zhuowen. This person before their eyes was suspected to be a half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouse, a true supreme powerhouse standing in this starry sky. He could easily annihilate them with one finger. Such a powerhouse they did not dare to offend, hurriedly begging for mercy. Zhuowen had a smile that was not a smile. Back then, the old man's comments about him on the flying ship, he indeed heard it all. It was just that he did not go and fuss over it. Now, seeing the old man so nervous, he felt rather amused. Get up. If I blamed you back then, would you all still be able to live until now? Zhuowen said with a slight smile. Lu Qingfeng's heart turned cold, hurriedly thanking Zhuowen, and said a lot of pretty words. Your Excellency, are you also heading to the demon domain? Why don't you come with us? Lu Chengfeng clasped his fist at Zhuowen and asked with a fervent look in his eyes. Zhuowen waved his hand and said, No need. I still have some things to do, so I won't be going with you. Lu Qingfeng was also a smart person. He glanced at the black dragon that was imprisoned by Zhuowen and thought of something. He didn't continue talking about this matter. Instead, he took out a token and handed it to Zhuowen. "My lord, this is our Thunderbolt Trading Firm's token. Our Thunderbolt Trading Company is one of the Demon Region's 4 great trading companies. We have some influence in the Demon Region. Senior, if you're heading to the Demon Realm, you can come find me at the Thunderbolt Trading Company. Although this old man's strength is far from your Excellency's match, my connections in the Demon Region are still quite wide. Sir, if you have any trivial matters, you can look for this old man. This old man will definitely be at your beck and call, and take care of it properly," Lu Qingfeng said expectantly. Zhuowen nodded, accepted the token, and said casually, "If I really encounter some troublesome matters, I'll go find you, but you can rest assured that I won't let people work for nothing when I find people to help me. If you can really help me at that time, I naturally won't treat you unfairly." Lu Qingfeng grinned from ear to ear, then very cleverly stopped disturbing Zhuowen and led the caravan away from this area. "Grandpa, this sir isn't from the Demon Region at a glance. He might not be too familiar with the Demon Region. Why didn't you invite him to come with us? We can totally be his guides." After the caravan walked away, the young girl on the deck asked Lu Qingfeng puzzledly, "This sir has just subdued that black dragon. He's probably anxious to extract benefits from that black dragon. Aren't we dampening his mood there? Leaving early is the best choice," Lu Qingfeng said with a twinkle in his eyes. Hearing that, the young girl nodded half understanding. Zhuowen came in front of the black dragon and communicated with it with divine sense, asking about its specific origins. "Human, you'd better let me go. Otherwise, you will die very miserably. I'm a creature of Golden Corner Starry Sky, the vanguard of Golden Corner Starry Sky. If you let me go now, when the army of Golden Corner Starry Sky comes here, you will be the first to die." The black dragon roared and viciously replied to Zhuowen with divine sense. Zhuowen was surprised. He didn't expect this black dragon to really come from another lower realm's starry sky. Moreover, according to this guy's words, the army of Golden Corner Starry Sky was coming to invade their starry sky. What was going on? Their starry sky had no intersection with the so-called Golden Corner Starry Sky. So why would Golden Corner Starry Sky invade their starry sky? Zhuowen became very serious. He always felt that this Golden Corner Starry Sky was very unusual. The vanguard sent here were all powerhouses of the Third Blight. The strength of this starry sky was definitely very strong, probably stronger than the starry sky he was in. Next, Zhuowen planned to continue to ask about the purpose of the so-called Golden Corner Starry Sky. But the black dragon was smart and knew that it had let it slip. No matter how Zhuowen asked, it kept silent. "He, still pretending to be silent with me? I'll let you pretend." Zhuowen sneered. His powerful divine sense was like a sharp sword as it plunged into the black dragon's forehead. Although the black dragon was a metal life form and had a very different body from flesh and blood, its divine sense was still the same. After all, it had embarked on the path of cultivation. Moreover, Zhuowen also found that the black dragon's physical strength was very strong, and there was a trace of broken divine power in its body. However, its divine sense was very weak and barely had the strength of a first blight cultivator. Zhuowen's divine sense invaded the black dragon's divine sense and immediately suppressed its divine sense. As long as Zhuowen willed it, he could immediately destroy the black dragon's divine sense. The black dragon realized the strength of Zhuowen's divine sense and began to feel fear. It sent out divine sense begging for mercy. Zhuowen ignored it. His divine sense condensed into a spiral drill and began to destroy the black dragon's divine sense space. He wanted to blast open the black dragon's divine sense and directly search its soul. It was simple and crude, without any hesitation. But soon, Zhuowen found that in the depths of the black dragon's divine sense, there was a special power that formed a shield that wrapped around the divine sense and protected it. Moreover, this shield also had a trace of broken divine power. It was very difficult to deal with. Ordinary third blight cultivators would find it difficult to blast open this shield with divine sense attacks. My race's divine sense has always been weak. We have already taken precautions. So what if your divine sense is strong? You can't break the divine sense shield set up by my race's divine master. The black dragon saw that Zhuowen's divine sense was blocked and let out a sigh of relief. This shield is indeed very difficult for ordinary third blight cultivators to deal with. Even fourth blight cultivators would find it difficult to break if they don't have a divine sense attack. But to me, it's just trash. Zhuowen sneered. His divine sense was too strong, comparable to a fifth blight cultivator. The shield in the black dragon's divine sense was a joke to him. Zhuowen's divine sense surged, and the shield instantly collapsed. His divine sense completely occupied the black dragon's divine sense space and began to search its divine sense. No, how is this possible? Chapter 35:21. Roaming the starry sky roar. The black dragon let out a blood-curdling screech. In the end, its huge eyes slowly closed. Its enormous body floated in the air, motionless. Its soul had been severely injured during the soul-searching process, and it had fallen into a deep coma. Zhuowen withdrew his soul, but his expression became more and more unsightly. During the soul-searching process, he learned all of the black dragon's memories. The black dragon did come from the golden corner starry sky, and the golden corner starry sky was one of the countless starry sky fruits in the primordial tree. The golden corner starry sky was basically a metal life form, a starry sky civilization that advanced both cultivation and technology. Moreover, from the black dragon's memories, he learned that the golden corner starry sky civilization was very prosperous, evolving countless times and producing many powerhouses. In the golden corner starry sky, there were many heaven-breaking realm powerhouses who successfully entered the higher level of the 100 domains through the primordial path. In addition, in the golden corner starry sky, there were as many half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouses as there were feathers, and it was also a powerful starry sky in the lower realm. However, he learned from the black dragon's memories that the golden corner starry sky had been born and multiplied for 80 to 90 eras, and the entire starry sky had begun to age and was on the verge of collapse. He had learned from the heaven-splitting axe's artifact spirit that the starry sky fruits in the primordial tree had a lifespan of about 100 eras. Once 100 eras passed, the starry sky fruit would wither and collapse. The golden corner starry sky had been born for 80 to 90 eras, and it had indeed entered the end of its life cycle and was on the verge of collapse. The starry sky he was in was very young, only a few eras old. It was the beginning of the starry sky, and it was full of vitality. The ruler of the golden corner starry sky used the information provided by the ancestors of the 100 domains to investigate the starry sky Zhuowen was in. He thought that their starry sky was very young and the natives were very weak, so he wanted to completely occupy it. Moreover, what surprised Zhuowen even more was that the golden corner starry sky called their starry sky Pan used starry sky. This surprised Zhuowen. Could it be that the powerhouse of the golden corner starry sky knew Panyu? Zhuowen did not dwell too much on this point. He fell into deep thought. From the black dragon's memories, he could see that this golden corner starry sky was very powerful. It was said that there were dozens of fifth blight cultivators. not to mention the number of cultivators half a step into the heaven-breaking realm. They were much more powerful than their starry sky. Currently, the only known fifth blight powerhouses in starry sky were 3 pure ones and Wu Taiji. No, we must stop them from entering this starry sky. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. He knew that if this continued, it would be too late when the real powerhouses of Golden Corner's starry sky arrived. This starry sky would face a terrible catastrophe. Zhuowen used his divine sense to awaken the unconscious black dragon. Then, he forcefully seized the black dragon's divine sense imprint and held it in his hands. You actually dared to search my soul. The black dragon's eyes were filled with fear. Even now, its head was still hurting so much that it wanted to die. Its divine soul was actually somewhat damaged, having suffered a very serious injury. Your divine sense imprint is in my hands. I only need a thought, and your divine sense will immediately be destroyed. Now, if you don't want to die, submit to me. Zhuowen said calmly. The black dragon roared, and finally lowered its proud head. It had cultivated for countless years and experienced untold hardships before finally reaching its current achievements. It did not want to die like this. Moreover, it also had a fluke mentality. As long as its cultivation broke through again, its divine sense would undergo a transformation. At that time, it would be able to break free from Zhuowen's divine sense and regain its freedom. Golden Corner Starry Sky sent a vanguard team here, and you are the leader of that vanguard team. Our battle just now caused such a big commotion, but your subordinates actually did not notice at all. Zhuowen said in surprise. He learned from the Black Dragon's memories that Golden Corner Starry Sky did not just send this Black Dragon, but an entire team. They were all mechanical life forms. There were more than a dozen of them, and all of them were half a step into the heaven-breaking realm. Reporting to Master, in the deepest part of this natural chasm is one of the borders of wandering starry sky. Moreover, this border has a very weak place. Our vanguard team barely reached the depths of the natural chasm with the help of my race's powerful formation, Tao Divine Masters. But at the border of the natural chasm, a strange power pervades. It can block divine sense and cover divine sense, falling into a kind of terrifying darkness. I left the depths and headed above the natural chasm. It's impossible for my subordinates to detect it. Even if it's a battle, it's also difficult to detect unless they also come up. The Black Dragon said. Zhuowen nodded. When he was deep in the darkness of the natural chasm, his divine sense was indeed suppressed very severely. This was still because his divine sense far surpassed other cultivators. If cultivators of the same rank entered that darkness, they probably would not even be able to use their divine sense. It was simply like their 2 eyes smeared with darkness. No, you could accurately locate my position in the darkness before. How did you do it? Zhuowen looked at the Black Dragon with hostility. He knew that the Black Dragon was the one who attacked him at the bottom of the natural chasm. It was obvious that the Black Dragon knew his exact location. Although the divine telekinesis can't be used in the darkness of the natural mode, the sensors in the technological civilization are not affected at all. I can sense your exact location through the sensors, but it's not too far away. Black Dragon smiled bitterly. Zhuowen had a look of understanding. When he confirmed that the Black Dragon was a mechanical life form, he knew that the Golden Corner Starry Sky, where it was located, was a highly technologically advanced starry sky. It was not a problem to have powerful sensors. Bring me to the depths of the natural chasm and find your vanguard team. But don't alarm them. Otherwise, you're dead meat. Zhuowen instructed calmly. The Black Dragon's eyes flashed fiercely, but it had to do as Zhuowen said. After all, Its divine soul mark was controlled by Zhuowen. If Zhuowen wanted to kill it, it would only take a thought. The black dragon's speed was very fast, especially when it went deep into the natural chasm. Its speed was not affected at all. In fact, it was getting faster and faster. Zhuowen sat cross-legged between the black dragon's horns. He used his divine sense to observe the surroundings. Although his divine sense was suppressed, he could still use it. The distance was indeed shortened by dozens of times, but it was enough for him. Roughly 10 days later, the black dragon suddenly made a turn downwards. Zhuowen felt the surrounding darkness disperse as a vast wasteland appeared in his field of vision. Above the wasteland was a bright and resplendent starry sky that continuously flickered with a myriad of colors. At the end of the wasteland was a lonely mountain range. On top of the mountain range stood a huge metal castle. At first glance, it was obvious that the metal castle was artificially built in the mountain range. Zhuowen had learned from his conversation with the black dragon that the metal castle was the base of the black dragon's vanguard team. I'll give you a chance to perform. Enter the castle and kill all the members of the vanguard team. Zhuowen jumped off the dragon's head and landed on the wasteland. What did you say? You want me to kill each other? The black dragon roared, its eyes becoming unfriendly. Chapter 35:22. Energy fluid Zhuowen appeared cold and merciless toward the black dragon and the other beings of the Golden Corner Galaxy. He was well aware of his own position. He knew that the Golden Corner Galaxy was an invader, an enemy that wanted to invade his home. If he didn't strike first, he would ultimately harm all the beings of the galaxy. The black dragon was trembling with anger, but there was nothing he could do. With a whoosh, he shot toward the metal castle. When the black dragon completely entered the metal castle, Zhuowen leaned against a desolate rock and waited silently. Boom! Soon, the metal castle turned into ruins. The black dragon rushed out of the castle, its whole body covered in wounds, its aura weak. Obviously, it had experienced a fierce battle in the metal castle. I've dealt with all the members of the vanguard team. Are you satisfied now? The black dragon's eyes were filled with fatigue, but its tone toward Zhuowen was still harsh and unfriendly. Zhuowen didn't care. Instead, he jumped onto the black dragon's head and said, "Take me into the castle." The black dragon had no choice but to take Zhuowen into the ruined castle. On the ruins of the castle, there were more than a dozen mechanical beings. These mechanical beings were of different shapes, some in animal form and some in plant form. The only thing they had in common was that their auras were very powerful. They must have been terrifying elites when they were alive. Zhuowen landed in the ruins and carefully examined these mechanical beings. Without exception, these mechanical beings were the same as the black dragon. Their bodies were filled with complicated and changeable circuits, and there was an energy fluid that was as thick as blood. This energy fluid is good stuff. The moment Zhuowen touched the energy fluid again, he once again felt the powerful energy contained in it. Moreover, this energy fluid actually had a trace of shattering divine power. He knew that the reason why the beings of the Golden Corner Galaxy could display shattering divine power was most likely related to this energy fluid. Moreover, Zhuowen also found that although this energy fluid couldn't compare to chaos crystals, it was of a much higher grade than the supreme grade Heavenly Path origin crystals in the galaxy. It was very suitable for half-step shattering Heaven Realm cultivators to cultivate. Zhuowen also finally knew why there were so many half-step shattering Heaven Realm cultivators in the Golden Corner Galaxy compared to the galaxy. Besides the fact that their galaxy had evolved for a long time, it was also related to this energy fluid. Zhuowen was very excited. He started to collect the energy fluid from these mechanical beings, not daring to waste a single bit. This energy liquid was too beneficial to the cultivation of a half-step heaven-breaking realm powerhouse. It was a true nectar, and he didn't dare to carelessly waste it. Black Dragon's eyes twitched as he watched Shuwen collect the energy fluid from his companions. To mechanical life forms like them, the energy fluid was equivalent to the blood of a human body. Shuwen's current actions were no different from abusing a corpse and sucking blood. Soon, Shuwen collected all the energy fluids in these mechanical life forms. What is this? Shuwen quickly noticed a ring-shaped metal platform in a corner of the ruins. On top of the platform stood a cylindrical vessel. The vessel was filled with a dark green liquid, and within the liquid, a huge metal sword was floating quietly. The liquid kept bubbling like boiling water, and the metal longsword emitted a cold light, showing its extraordinariness. Is this a half-step heaven breaker, divine sword? Shuwen broke open the container and held the metal sword in his hand. His gaze was a little strange. Whoosh! All of a sudden, Xiaohe flew out of the great world and stared fervently at the metal sword in Shuwen's hand. Wow, the ores in this metal longsword are very precious and powerful. This thing is very beneficial to my evolution. Kid, can you let me have it? Xiaohe rubbed his hands excitedly, saliva almost dripping out of his mouth. Shuwen nodded and tossed the metal sword to Xiaohe. Xiaohe put the metal sword into its bag without hesitation. At the same time, it looked around at the ruins of the metal castle, drooling even more. Kid, the materials used in this metal castle are all top-grade refining materials. This is a treasure trove for me. Little blood, little G, come out quickly. There's good stuff here. Xiaohe's eyes were bright. He hurriedly summoned the blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword. Then, the three divine swords rushed forward and began to devour and refine the remains of the metal castle. Moreover, these three fellows did not let go of the dozen or so mechanical corpses. They thought that these mechanical corpses were more precious and powerful and would be of great use to them. The Black Dragon looked at all this speechlessly, and a chill rose in his heart. What kind of people were these? They did not even let go of the remains and corpses of the metal castle. This group of people was really terrifying. Shuwen ignored Xiaohe and the others. Instead, he walked toward the depths of the mountain where the metal castle was located. He learned from the Black Dragon that in the depths of the mountain was the border of the starry sky. Moreover, the powerful restriction at the border was said to have become very weak. It had been torn apart by the formation of the golden corner starry sky. Once. Now, it was even more fragile. Soon, Shuwen found a valley in the depths of the mountain. At the edge of the valley, there was a huge circular whirlpool. This was a sign that the restriction was unstable. Shuwen looked at the circular whirlpool seriously. He was sure that the Black Dragon was not lying. This was indeed the aura of the restriction at the border of the starry sky. He had been to the border of the starry sky and studied the restriction there. He was very clear about the strength and aura of the restriction. Although the circular whirlpool was unstable, the aura of the restriction on it was exactly the same as the one at the border of the starry sky he had been to before. The Black Dragon once said that the Golden Corner starry sky would send another vanguard team after some time. When that time comes, the weak part of the restriction will be torn apart even more. Then it will be troublesome. I have to find a way to restore this restriction. Shuwen's eyes flickered. He took out beast bone formation discs and took out the true alchemy array record to study. The restriction at the border of the starry sky was definitely a heaven breaker level restriction. If it had not been weakened for some reason, it would not have been torn apart by the formation of the Golden Corner starry sky, and sent a vanguard team into the starry sky. Now, Zhuowen's formation skills had not yet reached the Heavenbreaker level. However, he knew that what he had to do was to repair this weak restriction and not set it up again. This was much simpler. However, this was only simple for a Heavenbreaker level formation master. For a half-step Heavenbreaker level formation master like Zhuowen, it was extremely difficult. If he wanted to completely make up for this weakness, his array formation skills would have to break through to the Heavenbreaker level to do so. He knew very well that if he could successfully repair this weak restriction, his formation skills would undergo a transformation. He might even directly advance to the Heavenbreaker level. Thinking of this, Zhuowen closed his eyes and spread out his consciousness. He studied the true alchemy array record and the restriction at the same time. Chapter 35:23. Xiao Hei's tribulation. Zhuowen's comprehension ability was simply too strong, and it had already transcended the scope of this galaxy. With the assistance of the true alchemy formation record and his epiphany, Zhuowen's formation Dao level was rapidly improving. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. The purple light around Zhuowen's body gradually receded, and he also slowly opened his eyes. My comprehension has indeed improved extremely quickly, but it's still a little short. I haven't been able to completely raise my formation Dao level to the Heavenbreaker level. Zhuowen sighed. His formation Dao level had greatly improved, but in the end, it still remained at the peak of the half-step Heavenbreaker level. He was only a step away from the Heavenbreaker level. He knew that his foundation was still too shallow. Moreover, he also discovered that it was truly too difficult to break through to the Heavenbreaker level in alchemy and formation Dao in this galaxy, unless he went to the higher realm of the 100 Outer Realms. He believed that if he could enter the 100 Outer Realms with his comprehension ability, he should be able to smoothly break through in a short period of time. However, it wasn't so easy in the lower realm of the galaxy. Unless he had heaven-defying opportunities or accumulated over a long period of time, he might be able to smoothly break through to the Heavenbreaker level like the Pill Formation Celestial Lord. Zhuowen sighed softly and put the true alchemy formation record into his great world. He stopped comprehending it, and instead began to control the beast bone formation discs, planning to fix the restriction vortex before him. Although he didn't manage to become a Heavenbreaker Divine Array Master, as a half-step Heavenbreaker Divine Array Master, it was still possible for him to fix this restriction vortex. Zhuowen spent 10 days and 10 nights before he finally patched up the loophole in the restriction vortex. After doing all this, Zhuowen didn't hurry to leave. Instead, he looked at the black dragon nearby and said, "The second group of vanguards will arrive within a month. Is this news absolutely true?" The black dragon nodded and said, "I'm the person in charge of the first group of vanguards. If the second group of vanguards is about to arrive, they'll basically notify me a month in advance. I just received news yesterday that the second group of vanguards will definitely arrive within a month." "Good. Then I'll wait for them here." Zhuowen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Although he wasn't a person who liked to kill, these golden cosmos mechanical beings were invaders. In order to occupy their galaxy cosmos and enslave their enemies, Zhuowen editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, he planned to kill the second group of vanguards here. "Master, you have to be careful. The person in charge of Heavenbreaker level is at the peak. Is Heavenbreaker level heaven is? He should be Heavenbreaker level. I being heaven level? Is Linza's translation. Haha, the translation is Dao translation." While he repaired the restriction vortex, he also set up several half-step Heavenbreaker level trap killing arrays. They were powerful enough to trap Heavenbreaker level powerhouses. Although Black Dragon was still very worried, he had also seen Zhuo Wen's powerful array formation skills during this period of time. He knew that this young man's array formation skills were not weaker than the #1 array formation master of Golden Corner Starry Sky. His array formation skills were even stronger. With Zhuo Wen's powerful array formation skills, the second group of vanguards was indeed nothing to worry about. At this moment, Zhuo Wen took out a jade bucket from the Great World. The jade bucket was filled with energy fluid. These were all extracted from the dozen or so mechanical beings' corpses. The Black Dragon's eyelids twitched when it saw the jade bucket. It left the valley. Out of sight, out of mind. Zhuo Wen scooped a spoonful of energy fluid from the jade bucket and poured it on his palm. The colorful energy fluid was like a rainbow liquid. The colors were dazzling and surging. The powerful energy contained in this energy fluid made Zhuo Wen feel comfortable and carefree. He circulated the primordial chant and began to absorb the energy fluid through his palm. After a while, the colorful energy fluid in his palm was completely absorbed by him. The rich energy filled his body and quickly flowed through his body. It entered his dantian and was easily refined into shattering divine power. Zhuo Wen was pleasantly surprised. This energy fluid was easier to refine than the chaotic energy in the chaotic cosmos. Moreover, it was not as domineering as the energy in the chaos crystals. This energy fluid was specially made for half-step heaven breaker level powerhouses. Zhuo Wen's eyes were filled with greed. He directly sucked out all the energy fluid in the jade bucket and surrounded his body. He opened all the acupoints in his body and began to rapidly absorb the energy fluid for his own use. If the Black Dragon saw this scene, it would definitely be dumbfounded. Although the energy fluid was very suitable for half-step heaven breaker level powerhouses to cultivate, there was actually a trace of shattering divine power inside. It was very domineering. If it was absorbed too much, the half-step heaven breaker level powerhouse might not be able to bear it and die. When the Black Dragon cultivated before, it basically used a small bottle every day, but Zhuo Wen used a large bucket. This was really too abnormal. Moreover, Zhuo Wen looked completely fine. Instead, he had a comfortable expression. The Black Dragon did not know, but Zhuo Wen was clear. The energy in his body was already shattering divine power, and the trace of shattering divine power in this energy fluid was like nothing to him. It would not affect him at all. Time gradually passed. Soon, 10 days had passed. The colorful energy fluid around Zhuo Wen had been completely absorbed by him, and Zhuo Wen's aura had also skyrocketed to a very terrifying level. His cultivation level actually jumped from the middle stage of the second blight to the late stage of the second blight with the help of the energy fluid. This energy fluid is really extraordinary. The cultivation effect is actually so good. Zhuo Wen's eyes flashed, and he was very excited. Although he had chaos crystals that were of a higher grade than the energy fluid, the level of energy inside was too high. After all, it was for heaven breaker level cultivators to cultivate. It still had some side effects on Zhuo Wen's cultivation. So normally, Zhuo Wen rarely used chaos crystals to cultivate, unless he was really about to break through and urgently needed energy. But the energy fluid was different. This was a resource created for half-step heaven breaker level powerhouses to cultivate. To Zhuo Wen, it had no side effects and was the most suitable resource for his cultivation level. If I have enough energy fluid, I can break through again in a short time and advance to the peak of the second blight. It's even possible for me to reach the third blight. Zhuo Wen's eyes were slightly regretful. He felt that the energy fluid was too little, not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a thunderous sound came from the mountain range behind him, attracting Zhuowen's attention. It's actually the Blight. Someone has advanced to the half-step Heaven Breaker level. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise. He immediately recognized that what appeared before him was the first Blight. Moreover, the location of the Blight happened to be where the Metal Castle ruins were. When Zhuowen arrived at the ruins of the Metal Castle, he saw a divine sword transcending the Blight tribulation. Furthermore, the divine sword was cursing while transcending the tribulation. Almost every curse was different. When Zhuowen saw this scene, he was speechless. At the same time, he was somewhat happy. He knew that Xiaohe had broken through and was about to enter the half-step Heaven Breaker level. It seemed that the metal sword found in the Metal Castle was of great help to Xiaohe. He actually broke through so quickly. Chapter 35:24. Shinru about half a day later. The Blight finally dissipated, and the Thunder Fire Sword fell to the ground like a dead dog. At the same time, a mysterious power surged into the Thunder Fire Sword, containing a powerful vitality, and instantly restored the Thunder Fire Sword. Xiaohe, congratulations! You've successfully broken through. Zhuowen was sincerely happy for Xiaohe. Xiaohe grinned and said, "Boy, this is all thanks to you. The metal sword you gave me was too beneficial to me, so I was finally able to break through. It's just a metal sword, and it has such great benefits. It's really hard to imagine if I'll continue to evolve if I absorb the metal materials from those corpses." Xiaohe's eyes were full of emotion, and at the same time, he pointed at the dozen or so mechanical corpses that had been arranged by the Blood Immortal Sword and the Death Sacrifice Sword. Zhuowen nodded. Xiaohe was a tool refiner, and he had extremely high requirements for metal materials. And these mechanical creatures that had descended from the Golden Corner starry sky all contained mysterious and powerful metal materials, which were simply great supplements for Xiaohe. Zhuowen estimated that if Xiaohe completely absorbed those mechanical creatures, he would probably evolve again. After all, these mechanical creatures were all half a step away from the Heavenly Break realm, and they were not simple people. Xiaohe did not continue to absorb those mechanical creatures, but put them all away. He had just broken through and urgently needed to consolidate his realm, not continue to break through. After his realm was completely consolidated, he would consider absorbing the remaining mechanical creatures. However, he did not hide anything, and left 2 mechanical creatures for the Blood Immortal Sword and the Death Sacrifice Sword to absorb and break through. After Xiaohe and the others re-entered the Great World, Zhuowen still stayed in the Metal Castle ruins. He stayed here not because there were treasures here, but because he was waiting for the second batch of vanguards to arrive. After completely annihilating the second batch of vanguards, Zhuowen left this place. Black Dragon, on the other hand, was a little uneasy. He already knew who the person in charge of the second batch of vanguards was, and he told Zhuowen about the person in charge. The person in charge of the second group is Exian Rue. He is very strong and is at the middle stage of the 4th Blight. I didn't expect that the person in charge of the second batch of vanguards would change at the last moment. Black Dragon's voice was somewhat restless. Zhuowen was astonished. Originally, Black Dragon had told him that the person in charge of the second batch of vanguards was only slightly stronger than him. He was at the peak of the 3rd Blight. But now, there was a sudden change. This mechanical life, called Exian Rue, was quite famous in the Golden Corner galaxy. She was a mid-stage 4th Blight elite, and her strength was almost on par with the second master of the Wu Tower, Wu Yangshua. It doesn't matter. So what if he's replaced? I still want them to nurse a grudge here. Zhuowen said indifferently. Black Dragon couldn't sit still. He said in a deep voice, "Master, You don't know? The second batch of vanguards will definitely get the formation breaking order from the Golden Corner Galaxy Grandmaster. They can break most of the half-step, heaven, breaking divine formations. The killing formations you set up won't be much of an obstacle to this batch of vanguards. Zhuowen frowned slightly and looked at Black Dragon coldly. Black Dragon didn't tell him about the formation breaking order before, and he only mentioned it now. Black Dragon lowered his head and didn't dare to look at Zhuowen. He knew that his previous little scheme had been seen through by Zhuowen. Master, let's leave here. Xian Rui is very strong. She's not an ordinary mid-stage Fourth Blight elite. Even if you and I join forces, we won't be her opponent. At that time, we will definitely die in her hands. Black Dragon said anxiously, as a creature of the Golden Corner Galaxy. He was very clear about the strength of Xian Rui. At this moment, his heart was full of fear. Your Golden Corner Galaxy Grandmaster's secret order may not be able to break my formation. This time, we must leave that batch of vanguards behind. If you don't want to fight, then die. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Black Dragon lowered his head and didn't say anything. Zhuowen already put it this way. He already had no leeway to object. Zhuowen was very confident. The Golden Corner Galaxy Grandmaster was only a half-step heaven-breaking divine formation master. Their formation skills were at most on par with him. Moreover, Zhuowen was also confident that his formation skills had improved again, and he had also obtained the inheritance of the Pill Array Immortal Lord. The formation skills of the Grand Master might not necessarily be stronger than his. Time gradually passed. Finally, half a month later, the monitoring formation that Zhuowen had set up at the border was activated. He found that outside the edge of the galaxy, there was a teleportation light. The light faded, revealing more than 10 figures. These figures were all mechanical life. They were of different shapes and sizes, and each of them had a powerful aura. Basically, they were all half-step heaven-breaking experts. The most conspicuous one was the figure in the lead. This figure was a huge metal Vajra. It was 5 feet tall and had a metallic luster all over its body. This metal Vajra's aura was the most powerful, far surpassing the other creatures in this team. It was a mid-stage Fourth Blight expert. Shinrui, Zhuowen looked at the metal Vajra through the image and asked Black Dragon next to him. At this moment, Black Dragon's eyes were very solemn, and there was even a deep sense of fear. Yes, he's Shinrui, a mid-stage Fourth Blight expert. Black Dragon sighed softly. Let's go and welcome them. Zhuowen smiled slightly, stood up, and walked towards the border. At this moment, in the team outside the border, Shinrui's gaze fell on the weak point of the border. He said with some confusion, "Why do I feel that the restriction at the border here is stronger than before? Are you sure this is the weak point of the border to enter the galaxy?" A mechanical life beside him said respectfully, "Lord Shinrui, we came here according to the coordinates that the Grand Master gave us. The Grand Master has never made a mistake in this aspect, so it must be here." Shinrui nodded, took out his communicator, and sent a message to Black Dragon. That Black Reef is the leader of the first Vanguard team. He is very familiar with this place. Let him come out and welcome us. Shinrui said lightly, not long after he sent the message. A vortex appeared not far from the border in front of them. Then, a huge black dragon rushed out of the vortex. It was the Black Reef that Shinrui mentioned. "Brother Shinrui, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Black Reef landed not far away. His huge dragon eyes looked at Shinrui and said quite enthusiastically. Shinrui said coldly, "Black Reef, I didn't expect you to be able to hide the entrance so well. I didn't even see it for a while. Now, take us in first." With that, Xian Rui strode into the whirlpool. He didn't even want to pay attention to He Jiao. However, Xinrui only took a few steps before he was stopped by Black Reef. "Black Reef, what do you mean by this?" Chapter 35:25. The second Vanguard Team Black Reef's expression became very serious. Xinrui saw the former's expression and felt that something was wrong. "Did something big happen? Brother Xinrui, I have a very important thing to tell you. It's related to whether or not we can take down Space Traveler," Black Reef said mysteriously with a serious expression. Xinrui's expression also became serious. He said in a deep voice, "Black Reef, what happened? Tell me now." Xinrui's attitude towards Black Reef also eased a lot. Although his strength was far above Black Reef's, Space Traveler had come to Space Traveler before him. However, He Jiao had come to the starry sky much earlier than him. His understanding of the starry sky was definitely above him. If he wanted to know more about Space Traveler in a short period of time, he would have to rely on Black Reef's information. Black Reef looked around mysteriously, as if he really had some unspeakable secret. "Brother Xinrui, this matter is too important. I can only tell you, Black Reef pointed at the dozen or so mechanical life forms behind Xinrui. His meaning was obvious. Xinrui's eyes were calm as he ordered the mechanical life forms behind him. "Go into Space Traveler and wait for me. I have something to say to Brother Black Reef." The mechanical life forms of the Vanguard team were very respectful and did not resist Xinrui's order. They all entered the restriction vortex at the border. "Black Reef, you can speak now." Xinrui stood in place and looked at Black Reef calmly. Black Reef smiled and suddenly blasted out with his dragon claw. A terrifying astral wind swept out, and the surrounding space collapsed under the terrifying energy. Xinrui's expression changed greatly. He did not expect Black Reef to suddenly attack and was hit hard in the chest. However, Xinrui was a mid-stage Fourth Blight powerhouse after all. His cultivation was a realm higher than Black Reef's. His reaction was very fast. The moment Black Reef attacked, he stimulated his energy defense. Deng, deng, deng. Xinrui groaned and covered his chest. He looked at the culprit who attacked him and roared angrily, "Black Reef, you dare to attack me? Are you courting death?" Black Reef sneered and took out a formation flag. His body emitted a white light. Not good. Xinrui could tell at a glance that the array flag in He Jiao's hand was the array flag for a temporary teleportation array. He Jiao wanted to escape. Xian Rui immediately took action, but unfortunately, it was still eaten. Black Reef completely disappeared in the light of the teleportation. "He Jiao, don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death." Xian Rui roared and rushed towards the restriction vortex at the edge of the starry sky. Bang! However, as soon as Xinrui approached the restriction vortex, he was blocked outside. The entrance to the restriction vortex was actually closed. "Humph! Stupid Black Reef, don't you know that I have the Grand Master's formation breaking order?" This was the only weak point of the wandering starry sky, and it was also a restriction set up by the great God Master himself. Does this fellow naively think that I will be blocked outside? Xian Rui sneered, then took out a golden token and threw it out. Suddenly, terrifying ripples were emitted from the token. Those were the ripples of the Matrix, and they surged like waves. Ka, ka, ka. A strange sound came from the restriction vortex. The restriction vortex's energy was weakened, and the restriction light dimmed. Just when Xian Rue thought that the restriction light would be completely extinguished, the formation breaking order shattered into countless fragments. How is this possible? How can the Grand Master's formation breaking order not only fail to completely break the formation, but it also shattered? Xian Rue looked at the weak restriction light in disbelief. Although the restriction vortex had been weakened a lot, it was still not broken. Damn it! It must be Black Reef's doing. Black Reef, that bastard. How dare he openly disobey my order? If I catch him, I'll skin him alive. Xian Rue flew into a rage and began to attack the already weakened restriction vortex like a madman. If the restriction vortex was at its peak, Xian Rue would not be able to break it even if he self-destructed. However, the restriction vortex had become very weak after being broken by the formation breaking order. With Xian Rue's strength, it was not impossible to break the formation by force. While Xian Rue was angrily smashing the restriction vortex, the dozen mechanical life forms had already entered the restriction vortex. Then, they fell into a state of spinning. It's a trap and kill array. Someone set up this array in advance. Is he trying to trap and kill us? These mechanical life forms recognized the trap and kill array around them at a glance. They were all in disbelief. They had just arrived in the starry sky and should have received the grandest welcome, but they did not expect to be greeted by death. The trap and kill array was immediately activated. The dozen mechanical life forms were suppressed, and some were even seriously injured. Zhuowen, who was hiding inside the trap and kill array, appeared silently. He appeared behind one of the mechanical life forms like a ghost and punched the back of the mechanical life form's heart. The purple light flashed like a knife. The punch was so terrifying that it directly penetrated the mechanical life form's back and came out from its chest. You are a human? Are you a creature of the pan? You star? The mechanical life form that was ambushed immediately noticed Zhuowen behind him. When he saw Zhuowen's face clearly, he shouted in surprise. He felt that it was unbelievable. This place was the stronghold of their vanguard team, and it was also the border of the Panyu Star. It was very hidden. Logically speaking, even the most powerful creatures of the Panyu Star wouldn't be able to find this place. But now, a creature of the Panyu Star had appeared, and it was terrifyingly powerful. Zhuowen's eyes were cold, and he was silent. The shattering divine power surged in his fist and invaded the mechanical life form. It completely destroyed its body and obliterated its divine soul. The strength of this mechanical life form was very ordinary. It was only at the middle stage of the first blight. With Zhuowen's current cultivation, killing a first blight creature was easy, even if it was a third blight creature. Although he couldn't kill it instantly, he could completely kill it within 10 moves. Enemy attack. Attention, everyone, there is a native of the Panyu Star attacking us. When the mechanical life form died, the other mechanical life forms all reacted and were on guard. Bang, bang, bang. Unfortunately, the strength of these mechanical life forms was very ordinary. The strongest one was weaker than Hay Reef, and was only at the early stage of the third blight. After Zhuowen's cultivation absorbed the energy liquid, he had a breakthrough, and his strength increased greatly. With the help of the killing formation, he was like a god of death inside the formation. Wherever he passed, there would always be screams and cries of alarm from the mechanical life forms. Then, there would be a corpse on the scene. When Zhuowen destroyed the last mechanical life form with a punch, Hay Reef also returned in a white light. Master, Shinrue is forcibly breaking the formation. He is too strong. I'm afraid the restriction vortex won't last long. Hay Reef said respectfully, "We will wait for him here." The moment he breaks the formation will be the moment he dies. Zhuowen sneered. He sat cross-legged outside the restriction vortex and waited quietly. Hey Reef was worried, but he couldn't say anything. After this period of time together, he had some understanding of Zhuowen's character. He knew that this person had a firm will and that it was very difficult to change his mind. If there's anything wrong, I'll just run away immediately. Although Xinrui is strong in terms of speed, he may not be faster than me. Hey Reef thought to himself. He even had some hope in his heart that Zhuowen would eventually fall in the confrontation with Xinrui. Chapter 35, 26. The pitiful Xinrui. Boom. Suddenly, the restriction vortex in front of them exploded, sending countless restriction fragments flying in all directions like fireworks. A figure slowly walked out of the dazzling restriction fragments with a surging aura. It was none other than Xinrui. Hey Jiao, you've got guts to actually sneak attack me. Are you regretting it now? Are you waiting for me to punish you? Xinrui immediately saw He Jiao, not far away. As for Zhuowen, who was not far from the Black Reef, he subconsciously ignored him. In Xinrui's eyes, this human cultivator was clearly a native of the universe, and his aura was not very strong. He subconsciously thought that this was just a captive of He Jiao. He Jiao's eyes were full of fear, and he remained silent. Where are my subordinates? Xinrui was very conceited. After seeing He Jiao, he thought that He Jiao would not dare to escape and could only wait to be punished. Now that Xinrui asked about his subordinates, he had a bad feeling. Something was wrong. Are you talking about this pile of scrap metal? Zhuowen said. He waved his right hand, and the bodies of the dozen or so mechanical life forms he had just killed scattered from the great world. Xinrui was first stunned when he saw the bodies of these mechanical life forms, and then he flew into a rage. You native ant, did you kill my subordinates? Xinrui felt like he was about to go crazy. He had aggressively led the vanguard team from Golden Corner Starry Sky in order to invade Wandering Starry Sky. However, he had only just entered the universe, and he was already at a disadvantage. He was extremely vexed. Then I'll give you a chance. Kill yourself now. I don't need to do it myself. Xinrui calmed down. He was still high and mighty, and he even threatened Zhuowen to kill himself. Zhuowen, however, smiled. He took out a formation flag and threw it out. Instantly, a series of trap and kill formations hidden around Xinrui appeared, and then they all self-detonated. Boom, boom, boom. The self-detonation of the half-step, heaven-crushing trap and kill formation was simply far too terrifying. Balls of energy of all different colors swept through the air, forming a series of dazzling energy storms. Xinrui's figure completely disappeared, drowned by the explosion. Hey Jiao, let's attack together. When the energy of the explosion swept over for a period of time and began to show signs of extinguishing, Zhuowen made his move. The purple light around his body was monstrous, like a crystal-clear purple jade sculpture. Ah, damned native. You actually dared to set up a trap here and plot against me. Xinrui roared. Amidst the endless energy explosion, he broke away, trying to escape the range of this terrifying explosion. Xinrui was in a sorry state now. His body, which had a metallic luster, was full of bumps and bruises. Black blood covered his entire body. Even one of his arms had been shattered by the explosion. Xinrui was indeed powerful. The explosion of a half-step heaven-breaching formation had unleashed a terrifying amount of energy, yet he had been able to withstand it. He had only sustained some serious injuries, but had not died. When Xinrui was about to rush out of the explosion range, Zhuowen had already arrived and punched out. Native, you dare? When Xian Rui saw Zhuowen rushing toward him, his eyes were filled with anger. At the same time, killing intent rose in his heart. He did not dodge, but instead, he threw out a punch. He had never thought highly of Zhuowen. He thought that he was just a native. So how powerful could he be? Boom! Their fists collided, and extremely terrifying energy ripples exploded. Xian Rui, on the other hand, was shocked. He actually felt an extremely terrifying energy in Zhuowen's fist. This energy was not unfamiliar to him. It was actually the broken divine power, and it was an extremely pure, broken divine power. Xian Rui grunted and fell into the explosion again. His figure was drowned again. Uffed. Zhuowen, on the other hand, spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and he kept retreating. His expression became extremely solemn. Xian Rui was very powerful, much more powerful than He Jiao. Just this exchange alone had caused him to sustain serious injuries. He felt a burning sensation in his internal organs. He knew that his internal organs had been damaged. His expression was solemn. One should know that Xian Rui was only able to display this strength after being seriously injured by the explosion of the array. If Xian Rui was at his peak, he would have been in an even more miserable state. He would have been seriously injured. Ah, damn native! Xian Rui screamed and cursed in the explosion. He rushed out again, but this time he did not go toward Zhuowen. Instead, he went in the opposite direction. He Jiao! Zhuowen shouted sternly. He Jiao was not far from where Xian Rui was. He Jiao naturally noticed Xian Rui's movement. His huge dragon body swept out and swung his tail at Xian Rui, who was trying to escape. He Jiao, how dare you join forces with a native? If the great Divine Master and the Divine Master know about this, you will become a traitor of Golden Corner Starry Sky. You will become a traitor that everyone in Golden Corner Starry Sky will want to kill. Xian Rui noticed He Jiao's attack. He was furious and cursed. Bang! He Jiao's dragon tail was smashed into a bloody mess. He Jiao's entire body was sent flying and crashed heavily to the ground. Xian Rui was not much better off. He was once again blasted into the explosion. Take this divine pill and continue. Zhuowen did not even think about it and threw a divine pill to He Jiao. He was constantly on guard against Xian Rui. Xian Rui was too strong. He must injure Xian Rui as much as possible. Otherwise, he would have to use his final trump card to defeat Xian Rui. The price of using his final trump card was too great. If he had no other choice, he would not use it at all. He Jiao took the divine pill and was pleasantly surprised to find that his injuries were rapidly recovering. He knew that this was definitely a half-step heaven breaker divine pill. Could it be that Zhuowen is also a half-step heaven breaker alchemist? As Zhuowen continued to take out half-step heaven breaker divine pills to heal his injuries, an incredible idea appeared in He Jiao's mind. One had to know that half-step heaven breaker divine pills were extremely precious in the Golden Corner Starry Sky. As a mid-stage third blight cultivator, the number of half-step heaven breaker divine pills he had taken could be counted on one hand. However, the number of half-step heaven breaker divine pills that Zhuowen took out was far more than the number of half-step heaven breaker divine pills he had obtained before. This made He Jiao's imagination run wild. After all, other than a half-step heaven breaker alchemist, how could an ordinary cultivator take out so many half-step heaven breaker divine pills at once? Thinking of this, He Jiao's gaze towards Zhuowen changed. It was filled with respect. This meant that the native who had subdued him was not only a half-step heaven breaker divine array master, but also a half-step heaven breaker alchemist. Moreover, his strength was even stronger than his. There was no such all-round genius even in the golden corner starry sky. This was a little too shocking. Chapter 35:27. Peak of the second blight. When Xian Rui appeared on the verge of death, Zhuowen rushed out and threw a punch at Xian Rui. Xian Rui was too weak at the moment and could only barely mobilize the energy in his body to form a protective shield around him to block Zhuowen's punch. Bang! Xian Rui had lost his arms and could only use his body to block the attack. Unfortunately, he had less than 10% of his strength left and could not block the attack of Zhuowen at his peak. His chest was punched through by Zhuowen's punch. "Ah, I can't accept this, you despicable native. If you didn't trick me, I would have killed you easily." Xian Rui was sent flying by the punch and slammed heavily on the ground. He roared at the sky, feeling that he had been tricked. He was very clear about Zhuowen's strength and knew that the strength he had shown was at the peak of the third blight at most. Although this kind of strength was not bad, it was nothing compared to his peak strength. It would not be difficult for him to kill this person. However, he had been tricked. The self-destruction of several half-step, heaven-breaking divine formations had blown him up. Now, he had less than 10% of his strength left, so he was being suppressed, and even his life was in danger. For Xian Rui, this was too humiliating and humiliating. Bang, bang, bang. Zhuowen took advantage of the situation and continued to attack. He did not give Xian Rui the slightest chance to breathe. He punched Xian Rui until his body exploded and blood splattered everywhere. However, Xian Rui was really strong. His body and divine soul were extremely powerful. Although he had been blown apart by Zhuowen again and again, he could quickly reform and recover each time. However, every time Xian Rui recondensed his physical body, his aura would weaken a little. Run! Xian Rui's face was extremely pale, and he immediately chose to run away. He knew that if he continued to stay, he would really be beaten to death by Zhuowen. He had been tricked. When he recovered his strength, he would inform the great divine masters in Golden Galaxy, Starry Sky. At that time, he would regroup and make this native die miserably. Xian Rui was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he rushed towards the exit of the restriction vortex, wanting to leave this place. When Xian Rui was about to reach the restriction vortex, He Jiao appeared silently and swung his huge black dragon tail, setting off a violent storm. Uffed! Xian Rui suffered a terrible blow to his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. "He Jiao, you traitor!" Xian Rui looked at the giant black dragon at the exit of the restriction vortex and Black Jiao. He almost could escape, but it was destroyed by He Jiao. He Jiao Studio. Xian Rui. Instead Rui. Xian Rui. Xian Rui Jiao. Xian Rui Studio. Uffed. AO Studio. Xian S body. S. His body no. Was no. A wisp of divine. Soul quickly left Xian Rui's body, trying to escape quietly. Unfortunately, Zhuowen's eyes were like torches. He had already seen through this wisp of divine soul and caught it in the palm of his hand. Aboriginal, you can't kill me. You don't know how powerful Golden Galaxy is. As long as you don't kill me, you'll have a chance to live when Golden Galaxy takes over your place in the future. This is your only chance. Xian Rui's divine soul shouted, but there was a touch of naked arrogance in his eyes. He used Golden Galaxy to threaten Zhuowen. Haven't I killed a lot of creatures in Golden Galaxy? You're just one more. A mocking smile appeared on Zhuowen's face. With a flick of his finger, a spark shot out and landed on Xian Rui's soul. Immediately, Xian Rui's soul was set ablaze like a prairie fire. Xian Rui screamed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Then he was completely burned into nothingness by the flames. Not far away, He Jiao looked at this scene, and his eyes were full of fear. Xian Rui's status in Golden Galaxy was much higher than his. He used to be a powerhouse that he looked up to, but now he ended up in such a miserable state. As he thought of this, Black Reef's eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Zhuo. He had to admit that this aboriginal in front of him was really terrifying. He had such terrifying strength and was a half-step heaven breaker, divine array master, and alchemy master at the same time. It was best not to provoke such an existence. After destroying Xian Rui's divine soul, Zhuowen's eyes were filled with excitement. He began to extract the energy liquid from Xian Rui's body. He found that the stronger the cultivation of these mechanical life forms, the more powerful and terrifying the energy liquid in their body was. The level of energy contained was also extremely high. After all, Xian Rui's cultivation was at the mid-fourth blight. His energy liquid was much richer than the mechanical life forms in his phone. After extracting all the energy liquid from Xian Rui's body, Zhuo did the same to the remaining dozen mechanical life forms. After doing this, Zhuo threw all the mechanical life forms' corpses to Xiaohe, letting him slowly process and digest them. He estimated that the precious materials of these mechanical life forms would be enough to let Xiaohe advance to another realm. After doing all that, Zhu consolidated the restriction whirlpool and set up layers upon layers of complicated restrictions. He was very confident that even if the Golden Galaxy Grand Master came in person, it would be difficult for him to break these restrictions set up by him. Moreover, he also set up many monitoring restrictions on the surface of the restriction vortex. The moment someone broke the restriction, Zhuo would be able to detect it. At that time, he would immediately rush here and reinforce the weak points. Zhuo returned to the ruins of the metal castle and casually created a cave abode there. Then he ordered his human true body to go into seclusion. He wanted to absorb all of the earth energy liquid he had just obtained and use it for himself. Time gradually passed, and a month quickly passed. The cave mansion standing on the ruins of the metal castle suddenly emitted a dazzling light, and a terrifying aura surged from the cave mansion. Kacha! In the end, the cave mansion couldn't withstand this terrifying aura and collapsed into nothingness. A figure with a mighty aura slowly walked out. He was none other than Zhuo. Zhuo's eyes flashed, and there was an imperceptible smile on the corner of his mouth. After absorbing the energy liquid of the dozen mechanical life forms, he successfully broke through to the peak of the second blight. He was not far from the third blight. He still had Xian Rui's energy liquid on him that he hadn't used yet. Xian Rui's energy liquid was very pure, and the energy level was very high. If Zhuo absorbed Xian Rui's energy liquid, coupled with his terrifying perception, he was likely to break through again and advance to the early stage of the third blight. However, Zhuo didn't do that. He knew that the second blight was already so terrifying, so the third blight, the earth blight, would only be even more terrifying. He wasn't ready to pass the third blight at all, so he didn't want to break through rashly, unless he could find some methods or items that could weaken the blight. Zhuo had heard of such things before, but they were very rare, and all of them were priceless. If he was lucky enough to find something that could weaken the blight, Zhuo was confident that he could pass the third blight. He wouldn't have any scruples and directly use Xian Rui's energy liquid to break through the third blight. It's time to leave here. Chapter 35:28. Flaming Phoenix's corpse ruin rode on He Jiao's head, breaking through the darkness of the natural moat and arriving above it. He Jiao! You continue to stay in the natural moat and guard the border. If anything happens, just send me a message immediately." After giving He Jiao some instructions, Zhuowen left the natural moat and headed to the monster territory. He Jiao's strength wasn't bad. If he followed Shiyan, he would definitely be a good fighter. However, He Jiao's appearance was too strange. Moreover, his body was so huge that he would definitely attract a lot of attention. Moreover, He Jiao was a mechanical life form, so he couldn't transform. This was the weakness of mechanical life forms. Because of this, Zhuowen didn't bring He Jiao with him. He just let him guard the border of the natural moat. After a few days, Zhuowen left the natural moat and entered the outer space. The outer space was a land of death. There weren't any planets with life forms here. Only dead planets existed dim and lifeless. Back then, because of Devour, the heavenly armor star was the only planet with life in the outer space. Zhuowen had risen from the heavenly armor star. However, the heavenly armor star had almost fallen apart. In the end, Zhuowen had refined it and placed it in the big world. Although the outer space was deathly silent, Zhuowen felt a heartfelt sense of familiarity. After all, this was his origin. Zhuowen's eyes revealed a nostalgic look. He started to follow his memory, heading to the place where the heavenly armor star used to be. Soon, he arrived at the old site of the heavenly armor star. There wasn't a single planet here, not even the remains of a meteorite. All that was left was an empty void. Zhuowen's divine sense instantly swept out and began to investigate the surroundings. He wanted to find something out of the ordinary. His god soul had reached the peak of this outer space. It was extremely powerful and was no longer the same as before. Soon, he felt that something wasn't right in the outer space. He felt a blazing aura here. However, this blazing aura was very weak. If his soul consciousness wasn't strong, he wouldn't have been able to detect it. Zhuowen's divine sense followed the scorching aura and probed deeper. Soon, he discovered a powerful forbidding aura deep in the rift. That blazing aura was leaking out from the restriction. Zhuowen took out the beast bone array disk and began to crack the restrictions here. As he continued to decipher, Zhuowen became more and more shocked. This was because he discovered that this restriction was extremely extraordinary. It was actually a restriction that was half a step into the Heaven Breaker tier. Moreover, this was no ordinary half-step heaven-crushing restriction. This greatly astonished Zhuowen. Zhuowen spent a few days before he finally cracked the restriction in the depths of the void. After he put away the beast bone formation disk, a powerful whirlpool appeared in front of him. A scorching hot aura assaulted his face, as if there was a furnace inside. He knew that the vortex was the entrance to the depths of the void. Zhuowen stepped into the whirlpool. He soon discovered that there was a small world inside the whirlpool. However, this small world was filled with red flames that never went out. It was like a furnace world, and its temperature was extremely high. In this small world of flames, the most eye-catching things were the numerous flaming mountains on the ground. These mountains burned with flames that never went out, and they were very dazzling. Soon, Zhuowen noticed that there was a palace burning with terrifying flames on the mountain range at the center of the small world. This palace was very large, and it occupied almost 1/5 of the entire mountain range. Zhuowen discovered that the surface of the palace was still covered with layers of restrictions. He spent a lot of effort and finally cracked the restrictions on the surface of the palace. After entering the palace, he saw a huge fire phoenix inside. To be more precise, it was the corpse of a fire phoenix. This fire phoenix was extremely handsome. Although it had already died, the aura on its body was still terrifying. Zhuowen's expression was serious. This fire phoenix must have been a fifth blight powerhouse when it was alive. Its strength wouldn't have been weaker than the three pure ones and Wu Taiji. However, it had died and was now a corpse. In front of the Fire Phoenix's corpse, there was a red stone tablet. At this moment, several large words appeared on the stone tablet. Fated One, you possess the rare Phoenix bloodline, and you've even passed my trial. You can take my inheritance. I hope that you won't ruin the reputation of my Phoenix clan in the future. Zhuowen muttered softly. He knew that the Fire Phoenix's inheritance had already been taken by someone else. Zhuowen didn't look upset at all. He had obtained Pango's inheritance, and it was much better than the Fire Phoenix's inheritance. Moreover, he had a faint guess. Didn't his wife, Mu Qinxue, have the Phoenix bloodline? Could it be that the one who obtained the Phoenix's inheritance was Mu Qinxue? Thinking of this, Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He felt that his guess was very likely correct. At the same time, Zhuowen let out a sigh of relief. If the one who obtained the Fire Phoenix's inheritance was really Mu Qinxue, then Mu Qinxue should be safe. However, Zhuowen's mind was filled with the image of the demon clan's saintess that he had seen in the Sorcerer God City. That figure was too similar to Mu Qinxue. It was as if they were carved out of the same mold. I must meet this demon clan's saintess. Zhuowen's eyes were firm. He felt that the demon clan saintess was very likely Mu Qinxue. He had to confirm it before heading to the demon clan's territory. Zhuowen searched the small world for a while, but he didn't discover anything else. Then he left the place. The Fire Phoenix's corpse looked incomparably powerful, but the essence within its body had long been lost. Zhuowen suspected that the person who obtained the inheritance must have also obtained the Fire Phoenix's essence. That person must have been reborn, and their cultivation must have increased greatly. Otherwise, even if the Fire Phoenix had been dead for so long, its essence wouldn't have been lost so cleanly. When Zhuowen headed to the Demon Clan's territory, far away in the Panyu galaxy, inside a starry sky fruit on the top of the primordial Hongmeng tree, thousands of light years away. This was the golden starry sky. In the middle of the golden starry sky stood a huge mechanical palace. Inside the palace, a divine master in a metal cloak was silently looking at a huge screen in front of him. Divine Master, why did you call me? At this moment, an image appeared on the screen. It was a middle-aged man. However, this middle-aged man's skin and appearance were suffused with a metallic luster, as if he was a robot made of metal. Divine Master, the first and second Vanguard teams I sent out have all met with mishaps. Other than the person in charge of the first Vanguard team, He Jiao, who is still alive, the rest are dead. The Divine Master said respectfully. The Divine Master was silent. Then he said angrily, "What happened?" He Jiao of the first Vanguard team is at the mid-third decay, and Xin Rue of the second Vanguard team is at the mid-fourth decay. With such strength, apart from the two strongest powerhouses of the indigenous starry sky, there are very few people who can match them.